welcome in another 49ers win. They start the 2023 season 3-0, and they christen the 2023 season at Levi's Stadium with a dominant performance over the New York Football Giants. We're at the 2-minute warning right now. It's currently 30-12. 49ers over the Giants. The Niners have the ball. There will likely not be another score in this ball game. The final score will very likely be 30-12, which means a dominant win for the San Francisco 49ers, and they are now 3-0 on the 2023 season with wins over the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Los Angeles Rams, and now the New York Giants. And welcome into overtime here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy and Sterling Bennett with you. Alan Stiles not in with us tonight. In with us in spirit, though. A great win for the San Francisco 49ers. Sterling, 30-12 likely is the final score. This Niners team has put up 30 points in all three of their games so far this year. Not the best performance. We can say that once again here, but an 18-point lead right now to likely be an 18-point win. A fantastic win for the 49ers once again.
We ran around them, we ran past them, and we ran right through them. San Francisco 49ers 3-0. Undefeated so far and still first in the NFC West with no worries. The Rams, who? The Seahawks, who? Tonight, the Giants, who? Vanilla Vic, Daniel Jones, get him out of here. San Francisco 3-0 on the year. Levi's Stadium, home opener. Opened the season right. Home opener. Opened it right, Mark. I'm so excited.
I mean, can we say technically this was the second home game of the year?
Levi's South. We own everywhere. Pittsburgh's a home stadium. Levi's South, SoFi Stadium's home stadium. And Levi's Stadium tonight, a home stadium for the San Francisco 49ers. I'm pumped!
Yeah, right now Jordan Mason is putting the finishing touches on this one, getting some work here on the final drive. 30-12 will be the final score. The 49ers controlled this game from the beginning, and Deebo Samuel had himself an incredible game here today. I mean, that's
Deebo.
That's what Levi's Stadium was chanting. And if you are at Levi's Stadium, you're walking out, you just got into your car, if you're joining us in a little bit, we want to hear from you, specifically if you were at Levi's Stadium tonight. 888-957-9570. That's the number to call. It's also the Xfinity mobile text line. And as always, we're keeping an eye on Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. First home game of the year is a rousing success, 30-12. But the star of the game, Sterling, it has to be Deebo Samuel. He was incredible. 6 catches, 129 yards, a touchdown, an incredible throw from Brock Purdy that iced the game. He had how many catches would he just run over 5 different tacklers? One of them, he had to leave the game as a result of because he's so difficult to bring down. But he came back in a few plays later and iced the game with a big touchdown, a 27-yard pass from Brock Purdy, back shoulder to Deebo Samuel along the right sideline. Incredible game from Deebo Samuel. And early on this season, Sterling, he's backing up his talk from training camp saying he's never putting anything like last year on tape once again. He has been incredible so far this year, and tonight, bar none, his best performance of the season.
7 touches, 129 yards, a big touchdown pass, a catch to ice this game. Oof. If there was one person that you want to put this team on their back, no Brandon Ayuk tonight. Christian McCaffrey, a good night, but not a big explosive play. George Kittle, 7 catches, 90 yards for himself. But Deebo Samuel, once again, proving tonight in week 3 that if you need someone to put this offense on their back, he is the man for the task. A huge 40-yard catch, seemingly ran through almost every single defender in his way.
He did.
I don't know if there's anybody in the NFL that can take down Deebo Samuel when he's motivated, when his body's right, and it looks like so far in 2023, Deebo Samuel looks like his all-pro self from 2 years ago.
He was incredible. Again, 6 catches, 129 yards, and a touchdown. Had a 40-yard gain through the air. Had the 27-yard touchdown catch that iced the game. That made it 30-12 49ers with about 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. No one would score from that moment on. He also carried the ball once, but just for 2 yards. But he was a menace through the air. A lot of them were short passes. It's the normal Deebo thing, right? Kind of like an extension of the run game where you throw it to him quickly out in the flat. He makes 5 defenders miss, gives you a 12-yard gain. Quick slant over the middle. That's the play that he got shaken up on a little bit in the fourth quarter. A quick slant on an RPO from Brock Purdy, sees the blitzing edge defender, throws it to that vacated area. Deebo takes on like half of the defense, ultimately comes down kind of awkwardly on his chest. Maybe he got the wind knocked out of him. Maybe felt something with his rib. We don't know yet. We'll hear from Kyle Shanahan later on. Goes out of the game after a tough, like 15-yard gain there, comes back in, then ices the game with that 27-yard touchdown, which was one of Brock Purdy's best throws of the night. Yeah. We'll talk a lot about Brock Purdy coming up here on Overtime on 95.7 The Game. But if you get this Deebo Samuel, who the 49ers did not really have for much of last season, and then you pair that with Christian McCaffrey, I know that these teams or these players shared a backfield, shared an offense last year, but Deebo Samuel is reaching a level this year that he never did last year. You pair that with Christian McCaffrey, and you can understand why this is the most difficult offense in the entire NFL that you have to prepare for. Given what Deebo Samuel can do alone, you pair that with the versatility of Christian McCaffrey, you throw in George Kittle, who had 90 yards through the air, and we're not even mentioning Brandon Ayuk, who is probably far and away the best pure receiver on this team. My goodness, the weapons that Brock Purdy has access to is absolutely incredible. I can't get over how good Deebo was tonight.
Well, don't forget, Deebo Samuel missed, 2-3 games last year down the stretch when they were going on their massive run, hurt in the Buccaneers game, missed the Raiders game, their big comeback down there at Allegiant Stadium. They did that without Deebo Samuel. Without Deebo Samuel at his best or with them on the field at all. Again, you add elite all-pro Deebo Samuel to this offense that has Brandon Ayuk, I could argue the best separator in football who didn't play tonight. George Kittle, probably, at least tonight, for 7 catches, 90 yards, one of the best tight ends in the NFL, going to give you yak almost every single play. And Christian McCaffrey, who quietly had 1 touchdown, 4.7 yards a pop, and 85 yards.
By far his most quiet game of the year, which is incredible because he was still up over or near 100 all-purpose yards.
This team, it's not,
in fact, he was over 100 all-purpose yards. 85 on the ground, 34 through the year. Quiet day, and he's over 100.
But even tonight, this team put up 30 points in a relatively poor offensive performance early in the first half. It seemed like kind of running through the mud, short week on a Thursday, went to SoFi Stadium on the road in Los Angeles, come back home, playing the Giants, who had a really good second half, a big comeback win against Arizona last week. You have two teams that their identity is running the football and defense, and San Francisco said, no, you cannot hang with us in San Francisco and Santa Clara at Levi Stadium. You have no business being on the field with us. Daniel Jones, someone they all point to and say, it's mobile quarterback, gotta watch out. 137 yards through the air, no touchdowns, 1 pick, sacked twice, on the ground, 2 carries, 5 yards. Get him out of here.
You see that, YouTube? 5 yards. 5 yards on the ground.
This was Steve Wilks' first test against the mobile quarterback. Daniel Jones has ran the football the second most in the past year and a half, with Brian Dable being as head coach, with Lamar Jackson being number 1. He is the most used quarterback in the running game. 2 carries, 5 yards.
And it was a big part of their win over the Cardinals last week, their comeback.
They eliminated everything the Giants wanted to do offensively on the ground. I get no Saquon Barkley, no Andrew Thomas. Definitely hurts their offense. But Steve Wilks' first test against the quote-unquote mobile quarterback, he did nothing. And it gives me some promise that against guys like Jalen Hurts, maybe Deshaun Watson later, who's not having a great year in himself, that this defense might be for the first time able to stop mobile quarterbacks with Steve Wilks at the helm.
Yeah, we want to hear from you. The game is now over. 30-12 is the final. If you're filing out of Levi's Stadium for the first time this year, getting in your car, sitting in that atrocious traffic down in Santa Clara, give us a call. 888-957-9570. That's the Xfinity mobile text line as well. And we're keeping an eye on Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. You're listening to Overtime here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy and Sterling Bennett with you. 30-12 is the final score. And let's go to our first call of the night, and it's a fun one. Philmo Mike in the city joining us here on Overtime on 95.7 The Game. Philmo, what is up? You're on with Sterling and Grandy here on Overtime. What do you think the Niners win tonight, Philmo?
Hey, I don't know if y'all have any jewelry on you right now, but put it up.
I have a twine bracelet.
Deebo, bro. Oh, bro, Deebo, I ain't got no problems, Brody. But Deebo and CMC is one hell of a couple, man. You feel me? Some people believe in polygamy. I believe in that. You feel me? Sometimes. From time to time, you got Purdy, Deebo, and CMC. You got a little bit of Kittle. And then, hey, man, we make it wiggle. I'm out this thing, man. I'm so happy, man. Beautiful win. You know what I'm saying? I love beating on the New York Giants. Y'all used to have a play. I don't know if Tone C still work for y'all, but Tone Caffarelli, you feel me? He used to work for 95.7 a game. And I just want to say this. Tone said we got y'all tonight, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. Filmo, appreciate the call. Always ready to start off overtime with a great caller like Filmo Mike.
Is there a nickname for the Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey backfield yet? I know Deebo has the wide back thing, but we have to find a nickname for them.
Specifically for them, too, because you throw in like the whole Niners pass-catching unit. It's the Yak Bros, obviously. Right. But specific for Deebo and CMC, we got to find something. You're right. You're right.
They're just so good.
They are. They're so incredibly fun to watch. And imagine if you're a defense trying to prepare for this.
You can't. You can't do it.
Imagine you're a defensive coordinator trying to scheme something up. That seems difficult enough. Imagine you're a linebacker, you're a safety, you're a corner tasked with trying to tackle Deebo freaking Samuel. Like you watch
Deontay Banks and Trey Hawkins, rookie quarterbacks.
You watch what Deebo Samuel put on tape today. Oh my God, the Arizona Cardinals are shaking in their boots. They haven't even played their Week 3 game yet.
They're already doing that.
Trying to tackle Deebo Samuel, that sounds like my biggest nightmare in the world. Oh my God.
Then you factor in, okay, maybe in some world you can stop Deebo Samuel and tackle him, which is almost impossible, but then Christian McCaffrey, then Kittle, then Ayuk, and then Brock Purdy himself, who I know tonight wasn't his best night. You can even argue that it was even worse than last week, and we'll definitely get into that, but 310 yards through the air, 8.5 yards an attempt, and 2 touchdowns. This team, it wasn't pretty early, but when they got rolling, I mean, my goodness, they look unstoppable.
100%. And we can talk later on about some of the issues, because you're right, it was not pretty early. I mean, the offense, penalties and some poor throws.
Some punches being thrown.
Talk about that. Trent Williams at the end of the
what are you doing, man?
At the end of the first half. There's plenty of room for that here on Overtime on 95.7 The Game. A ton to get into, but we want to hear from you. If you are at Levi's Stadium, give us a call, 888-957-9570. That's also the Xfinity mobile text line. And as always, we're keeping an eye on Twitch and YouTube. Those chats powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Mark Randy and Sterling Bennett with you here on Overtime. And up next, we've got Tony in San Francisco wanting to react to this Niners win. Tony, what's up? You're on Overtime with Randy and Sterling. How you doing?
Hey, you guys were saying it wasn't pretty early on. It was beautiful. I was texting my brother saying, dude, we're owning this game on the first drive. We chewed up almost half of the first quarter on the first drive. If that doesn't say dominance, I don't know what else does. We own that game. The score doesn't even do the dominance justice. Just wait for the statistics. It was way more imbalanced than you can even imagine. That was a total dominant game.
Hey, you're right, Tony. You're right. We appreciate the call, Tony. I mean, you look at the numbers. Niners win 30-12, 26 first downs to 10 for the New York Giants. Total yards, 441 yards to 150 yards. This was an incredibly dominant performance, very lopsided, but it could have even been worse. I mean, Tony mentioned the first drive. Niners take 6 minutes and 16 seconds off the clock, 15 plays, 64 yards, but what happens? They stall in the red zone. They settle for a 28-yard Jake Moody field goal. I get it.
Get his name right, Mark. Legatron.
Okay. He was perfect again. He's been great.
Legatron.
He made a 28-yard field goal. He made a 21 and a 36. He did not earn the nickname Legatron.
Even Legatron had bad sequels. Transformers isn't a great series, but Legatron lives. Mark, Legatron lives.
My point is, while I 100% agree with Tony, this was dominant. The Giants are not in the Niners' stratosphere. They're not even close.
Not even close.
This was a gigantic mismatch. My only point is, and we got to focus on the positives here, at least early on in overtime. That we can talk about more about it later. You settle for a field goal on your first drive. If you're just a little bit better in the red zone, you're putting up 40, and this is an historic beatdown. Like, this could have been 44-12.
Well, that happened last week as well. Like, this offense, I could argue, despite putting up 30 points in every game so far, has not reached their full potential. And if Brandon Ayuk plays in this game, Maybe we are talking 40.
Maybe.
Maybe it's not Ronnie Bell, who had a really surprising good game tonight, had a big tackle on a punt and a first touchdown pass. It is career great job for him. But the defense tonight also showed up, holding the Giants to just 12 points. Matt Breida, former Niner himself, only 17 yards on the ground. It was like on a short week, San Francisco said, enough with the nonsense. Let's get in this game, dominate, and get out without any injuries. Now we'll see what happens with Deebo Samuel, but it seems like they got out unscathed, and that's a win-win for San Francisco. And look, they held the ball for nearly 40 minutes.
God.
39 minutes and 10 seconds compared to the Giants' 20 minutes and 50 seconds.
It's just physically dominating.
Every level, every angle, it doesn't matter how you look at this game, despite the slow start, the red zone issues, whatever, they still came out and dominated on every single front. Nick Bosa's out there struggling, getting his first sack. Javon Hargrave's getting sacks.
Yep.
This team came to play and said, put week 2 behind you. We're going to take the Giants and say, go back to New York, tuck your toe between your legs. You don't even think you have a chance tonight. And from the stat number 1, it felt like that for the Giants.
It really did. 30-12 is the final score, and it was more lopsided than that final score suggests as well. We're just getting going here on overtime on 95.7 The Game. 888-957-9570 is the number to call. It's also the Xfinity mobile text line and Twitch and YouTube powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Let's go to Alex in Atlanta wanting to react to this Niners game. Alex, what's up? You're on overtime with Grandy and Sterling. How you doing?
Oh, gentlemen, I'm tired. It's almost midnight here on the East Coast, but I wanted to call in, talk about that dominant Niners win, as you guys were saying. Look, the biggest takeaway for me tonight is, again, despite the offense playing pretty sloppy in the first half, they righted the ship, put up well over 400 yards. But to me, what stuck out was third down efficiency. The Niners were 22% on third down last week against the Rams, 56% tonight on third down against the Giants. Helped sustain those drives, helped keep the Giants defense on the field, had them gassed by halftime, and the Niners just cranked up the dial to 11 in the second half and put them away.
Yeah, no, Alex, you're 100% right. This was a dominant performance. Third downs is a huge key in this game. 9 for 16 the 49ers were. What was it? The first half, Sterling, it was 7 for 10 on third downs in the first half, 9 for 16 in the game, so 2 for 6 in the second half, but number of those are when the game was out of reach in the fourth quarter. Niners were really good throughout this entire game, and you mentioned the time of possession, and so did our caller. Almost 40 minutes time of possession in this ball game. That's where the 49ers are so incredibly difficult to play against. The stat last year was no team had won the week after playing the 49ers. The Steelers won week 2 after playing the Niners week 1, so that stat's
doesn't count.
Out of the way here to begin this season. But I think what's maybe more important, because it affects the Niners and who they're playing, they don't just wear you down for the next week. They wear you down in the second half. The Niners putting the Giants' defense on the field for nearly 40 minutes, they were getting chunk plays in the fourth quarter. The Deebo Samuel 27-yard touchdown, that whole drive, in large part because of how physically dominant this team is. They just make your opponent tired, and it becomes much easier to move the ball on them that way.
We saw late in the game, Giants are throwing punches and throwing smacks. You can tell a young defense getting frustrated, which the Giants should not be as bad as they are so far through 3 games. They should be a lot better, and the question for me coming into this game was, which Giants team is going to show up? Team outscored 60-0 through, a game and a half of play, or a team that comes back in the second half. And
they scored their first half points tonight.
And they got their first sack of the season, but it felt like the Giants came out and they did want to punch somebody in the face, but they couldn't because San Francisco was so good. They're marching on their first drive. What does Isaiah Oliver do? Big tackle on third down.
Huge play. He was good.
Keeps this game tied 3-3. Then what does San Francisco do? Puts up 14 in the second quarter, then gets 3 in the third, and then gets 10 to ice the game in the fourth. No matter what the Giants did, they did nothing well, but they couldn't do anything because San Francisco was smothering them throughout the entirety of the game. Daniel Jones did nothing. Even the Giants defense, who for a large part, or for a small part of this game, looked fine. This seemed to have Brock Purdy's number for, maybe a half a play, but he lit them up later. 310 yards through the air, Brock Purdy's second career game with over 300 passing yards.
They threw the ball 37 times, Sterling.
Through 3 quarters, had 30 pass attempts.
31, actually.
Shanahan, well, 31 then, Mark. Shanahan wanted to be aggressive with Purdy, which I think wasn't the expectation coming in, and Shanahan said, no funny business. Come in, get the win, get our guys some rest, and look ahead to week 4, being 3-0 against the Cardinals, which, by all intents and purposes, you can put a W next to that game too, Mark.
Yeah, and you got the mini bye now. You have 10 days before your next game, which is really valuable for this team moving forward. Phenomenal performance. Purdy threw for 310, 2 touchdowns, did not turn the ball over. McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, both over 100 total scrimmage yards. George Kittle had 90 through the air. Juwan Jennings, a couple of really big catches on third downs. Ronnie Bell had his first career touchdown, also a circus catch off a tip as well.
Go Big Blue.
Everyone's getting involved in this 49er offense. But the Lions are heating up here on 95.7 The Game. If you want to get in, 888-957-9570. Were you at Levi's Stadium tonight? What was the atmosphere like? What was the energy like? We want to hear from you. 888-957-9570. That's also the Xfinity mobile text line. But right now, let's go to Miles in Fort Mason. He wants to react to this Niners win. Miles, what's up? You're on overtime here on 95.7 The Game with Grandy and Sterling. What'd you think of that Niners win tonight, Miles?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on. Thrilled with the win. And I think a lot of questions going into this week were answered. Bosa got a sack. Okay, Brandon Ayuk went down. The rest of the offense stepped up. Kittle, 7 catches. I was waiting for Brock to throw him a TD. Didn't get there. And I think I was glad to see CMC get a little bit less carries this game. Finally, Elijah Mitchell got in there and some other carries to go around. And then finally, Ayuk gets all the attention with his route running skills, and rightly so. But we saw tonight, let's not sleep on Deebo's route running skills either. He made that back, the turnaround on the TD catch was great, and then he was wide open in space several other times in the game that, he's not a running back. He's a wide receiver. So great game all around. It's on to week 4. Let's go.
Yeah, Miles. No, you're 100% right. I mean, Deebo Samuel deserves all the credit in the world. He is an incredible, incredible football player. There's no one else on this planet like Deebo Samuel. No. I mean, he is one of one. One of the closest guys to him is maybe Christian McCaffrey, but he doesn't have the same physicality that Deebo Samuel has. He's a nightmare for opposing defenses to deal with. And I think it's almost a situation where when you're scouting Deebo Samuel, when you're trying to prepare for him, you think to yourself, you're like, well, he isn't really that physically imposing. He isn't the quickest guy. He doesn't run the most perfect routes, right? Like, you feel like, hey, we can limit this guy, right?
Yeah.
And then you meet him on the field, and he just reaches a different level. I feel like he's a guy who hits you a little bit different in person than on tape, right? Like, he's just so physically imposing when you see him in person, and when he runs over 4 different guys, I can't imagine what it's like to try to be out there on a football field and try to get a finger on that guy, let alone try to bring him to the ground.
We even saw tonight Christian McCaffrey, who by all intents and purposes isn't too physical. He was throwing out stiff arms to Deontay Banks, and Banks didn't come back. I'm not sure if that's the reason why, but he was tossing corners to the ground. This team, the Niners, they want to physically dominate you, and they had the scheme to, on paper, just crush you in every way.
And opponents know that that's what the plan is, and they can't do anything about it,
That's
Sterling.
it right there. Opponents know what San Francisco wants to do, but they are so good on both sides of the ball, you cannot stop them. I have a nickname, though, for Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel from Brian Iglesias.
Okay.
Former coworker.
Shout out, Brian.
The Super Gash Bros.
Oh, I kind of like it. They do gash you.
They certainly do.
They gash you big time.
Do they have the coins that pop up when they knock over linebackers? Ding, ding, ding.
Just wait until they get the mushroom and reach a different level, you know? I mean, that's Deebo when he gets the ball in his hands. And when he sees the end zone, when you get the star and you...
It's almost like Deebo Samuel is like Bullet Bill, and he just running right through every single, and you're like, you cannot
get out of the way.
Like, even Brian Daboll tonight is yelling at refs, and you can see him pointing to himself as, is that our penalty? Oh man, The Niners today said, Giants, get off our field. You can't stop any of our receivers, can't stop any of our running backs, and you can't stop Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy.
Yeah, no, you can't. They had no answers for the 49ers. The reason why the Niners, I think, maybe you felt like they weren't at their best in the first half. Maybe this isn't fair. It had nothing to do with the Giants. It was self-inflicted wounds on the 49ers. And we can talk more about that later. We got a couple of callers here on hold that were at Levi's Stadium at this week 3, 30-12 49ers win. 888-957-9570. Let's go to David. You were at the game, David. What did you think? What was the atmosphere like inside of Levi's Stadium? You're on here on Overtime on 95.7 The Game.
Oh, man, it was fire, bro. Everybody was going nuts. And I know you guys talked about it on how Deebo was killing it, but, man, the depth on that team to see Ronnie Bell get a touchdown was great, and the defense is stepping up, man. It was amazing. It was crazy. It's how Levi, should always be.
Yeah, David, I want to ask you, when Deebo Samuel went down in that fourth quarter before his touchdown seemed like a rib or a chest or something, what was the atmosphere like there? Because we could tell that the fans were chanting Deebo as he's walking off the field. What was that moment like at Levi's?
It was reminiscent to the same time Bosa went down. It was great. You could hear from outside the stadium that everyone just cheered Deebo. And, just like how we all hope, our boy got right back up and scored a couple plays later. So it was amazing, man. It was an awesome time. If you missed it, man, you missed a good one tonight.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, David. Yeah, I'm a little jealous. I wish I could have been down at Levi's Stadium for a moment like that. Those are the best. I can't even imagine what it was like then after when he came back in and scored the touchdown a few plays later. Like, you're worried. You and I are worried watching the game here at the 95.7 The Game studios. Like, did he break a rib?
Right,
was it a wrist? He put his hand down to brace his fall. It looked kind of awkward. What happened? He's on the sideline. They cut to commercial break. We don't know what's going on. Suddenly they're back. They say he's okay. He comes back in, catches the touchdown. I'm sure Levi's Stadium just exploded in that moment. Would have been awesome to be there for that.
Could I say the faithful might be the best fans in football? They travel well, and when their players get hurt, they pick them up. When Nick Bosa got hurt against the Vikings in 2019 playoffs, what'd they do? Chanting, Bosa, Bosa, Bosa. What'd he do? Got up, shrugged it off, and got back in the game. Deebo tonight, Deebo. Gets back up, gets revitalized, rejuvenated, go out there, ice the game with the touchdown when they needed it most to put this game away. Man, the fans are great, and the team is great.
Yeah.
3-0, undefeated on the road, 2-0, undefeated at home, 1-0.
Kind of 2-0.
And they have two more games at home against the Cardinals and Dallas. They have a 3-game home stretch. Kicked it off right tonight.
100%. 888-957-9570. That's the number to call. Also, the Xfinity mobile text line. We have another fan who was at Levi Stadium tonight. Aaron, you're on Overtime here on 95.7 The Game with Grandy and Sterling. Aaron, what was the atmosphere like inside of Levi's tonight?
Gentlemen, I am so excited to tell you that Levi Stadium has finally become the football stadium we have all wanted.
Woo!
The environment
10 years.
was electric. It was great.
Awesome, Aaron. What did you think of the game overall? 30-12, the final score. Deebo Samuel was dominant. Brock Purdy threw for 310. What stood out to you?
I finally think this is the game that we needed. The fans are all behind Brock. The players stepped up in Ayuk's absence. It was great to see Ronnie Bell out there, and I'm super excited that we were able to use Elijah Mitchell finally.
Yeah, 100%. Good call, Aaron. Appreciate you tuning in here on Overtime on 95.7 The Game. I think that's a big moment as well. In the first half and for some of the second half, it almost seemed like the Niners were going every other drive. The first drive was McCaffrey. Second drive was Elijah Mitchell. Next drive was McCaffrey and so on and so forth. It wasn't that way always. There were some exceptions, but it did seem like Kyle Shanahan ultimately stuck to his word from after week 2 where he said, I got to be better. I got to mix in Elijah Mitchell. He did. McCaffrey, 18 rushes for 85 yards and a touchdown. Elijah Mitchell, 11 for 42, had an 18-yard burst. He was effective in this game, but 100%, the caller is right. Aaron was right. Nice to see Elijah Mitchell mix in because if you're the 49ers, you need McCaffrey healthy,
right?
And you want to spell him as much as you possibly can while not hurting your chance to win. At the same time, Elijah Mitchell also has a history of injuries. You want to try to keep him healthy. I think this was a pretty good mix, a pretty good balance from Shanahan tonight.
Well, this kind of started before the game, right? Brandon Ayuk's not going to play.
Yeah.
Get him healthy. Give him a complete 2 weeks to week 4 against the Cardinals. And even tonight, again, McCaffrey was touching the ball almost, 25, 26 times a game through the first 2 weeks. What do you have tonight? 18 carries?
18 carries, 5 catches, so 23 opportunities.
Which usually it's like 30.
Yeah.
Limit his hits. And then Deebo, who had a big game, carried the offense for the most part, but even Deebo only touched the ball 7 times. It wasn't like their guys were getting banged up and bruised, and you won by 18 points. You can afford to get guys off the field, and I believe this is the second game so far through 3 weeks we've seen the backups come in on the final drive of the game. If there's one good thing for a team that wants to stay healthy, it's those backups coming in to take 3-4 knees and call it a night.
Yeah.
Done that twice so far this year. Twice!
I don't want to get too ahead of myself because I know it's only the 3rd week.
Come on, do it, Mark.
But you talking about backups coming in and you're not really putting any extra or undue stress on your stars and your starters. You know what it reminds me of, Sterling?
Tell me.
It reminds me of the 2015-2016 Golden State Warriors season when they won 73 regular season games. Or it reminds that one was the first one, but just of... And then after that, the Curry and Durant era,
right,
where Steph Curry didn't play in like 18 fourth quarters for one season. You know,
right.
They were up by 30 going into the fourth quarter. Guess what, Steph? Take this entire fourth quarter off, right? I mean it's 3 weeks, 3 blowout wins, not against any great teams, but a couple of quality teams. You would think Giants maybe worse than we were thinking they were going to be. Rams better than we were thinking they're going to be. Jury's out on Pittsburgh. I don't really know what the hell they are at this point. A great defense, but their offense seems really bad. But they are dominating teams to a point where they aren't putting themselves in not unnecessary, risky situations, right? I know we're early, but that is kind of the vibe I'm getting from this team. They could be so dominant that they could be helping themselves down the road because they're just accumulating less hits, less pressure on their bodies over time.
Keeping it fresh and easy, right? The Niners right now, the way they've played, and text line says the 510, another boring 30-point scoring game by the Niners like every other game the last 2 seasons. If they're boring and they're scoring 30 points a game, I will take being boring, scoring 30 points a game every single week.
Imagine them being exciting. How many points is that? 50?
They could have put up 40 points.
Easy.
In 2 of the past 3 weeks. I could argue they could have put up 40 points in every single game this far.
100%.
And they're going to do it one game. It could be against the Cardinals in 10 days.
That might be the true fourth quarter rest.
What would be even better if they do it against the Cowboys in week 5 and we're sitting here saying, oh my goodness, we're 5-0. And we're putting up 40 burgers against the Cowboys now. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but I'm just saying this team is not reach their potential just yet, and that excites me for what might come next.
100%. I'm with you. All right, time for a break here on Overtime. Nick and Manuel, I see you on hold. Stay there. We'll get you on the other side. 888-957-9570. It's Overtime on 95.7 The Game. The Niners are 3-0, a 30-12 win over the New York Giants. Grandy and Sterling coming back with more Overtime after this right here on 95.7 The Game.
Every business deserves a great deal. That's why, for a limited time, we're launching the Mobile Made Free event with Comcast Business Internet, new and existing.
Welcome back. Overtime continues here on 95.7 The Game. No Alan Stiles tonight. It's Mark Randy and Sterling Bennett with you. That you just heard was Al Michaels on Thursday Night Football via Amazon Prime. Us here in the Bay Area watching it on Fox, on KTVU. That was the Ronnie Bell 9-yard touchdown from Brock Purdy. Ronnie Bell was the next man up, Sterling. Brandon Ayuk out of this game with an injury he sustained week 2 against the Rams. Does not seem to be too serious. He was called a game-time decision, was officially listed as questionable, but it was announced early in the afternoon that he would not play in this game. Ronnie Bell stepped up, had that touchdown, had one other catch for 24 yards. Ronnie Bell, next man up, and did the job as good as you could possibly ask for a young rookie picking towards the very end of the draft.
What's the saying? No block, no rock. Ronnie Bell likes to block, and tonight he got the rock.
There you go.
First career touchdown. And look, is Ronnie Bell the first receiver since 2020, Brandon Ayuk's rookie season, to not be in Shanahan's doghouse? He's getting meaningful snaps against the Giants on primetime, granted because he has to, but he was playing meaningful snaps against the Rams last week. They're not out there trotting out Chris Conleys and Willie Snead the Forts. They're putting Ronnie Bell in positions as a rookie to say, you may have to play a big role on this team, and he's stepped up so far through the 2 games he's played.
Even Ray McLeod, who was out there a lot, didn't get a target, didn't have a catch. Nothing against Ray. He's a very valuable piece of this team.
He's doing some work.
But, Ronnie Bell, the rookie out of Michigan, 2 catches for 24 yards and a touchdown.
I wish the call was better. Oh, touchdown.
That's what.
Like, come on, Al Michaels is a legend, but touchdown. Get excited. I know he's older. Again, he's a legend. I respect him just to the nth degree. But, touchdown. It's like, ow, it's a touchdown. Get excited.
It's his first career touchdown on Thursday Night Football.
It's touchdown. And also, Al Michaels, again, I love you. Niners have 5 Super Bowls, not 4.
Yeah, I missed that, but you were on it.
I was driving on the bridge and I said, wait a minute, Al. We have a correction to make. Giants may have 4, but we have 5. We have 5.
Count them. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
We were talking during the break. There was an incredible stat, I think, that kind of shows the Niners' dominance in this game. I forget exactly what it was, so I don't butcher it. I want to hand it off to you. Just give me this statistic. Give our listeners here on Overtime this statistic, because it is wild, and it shows just how dominant the Niners were tonight.
Their minds are going to be blown. The Giants in this game totaled 150 yards of offense.
Not great.
Your San Francisco 49ers totaled 201 yards after the catch alone. San Francisco, after catching or running the football, had more yards than the Giants had all night long. Complete dominance on every single level.
That's just where Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey are elite. George Kittle as well. Kittle had 7 for 90. I don't have the yak numbers in front of me. I would imagine more than half of those 90, probably 50 or more of those yards, are after the catch for George Kittle.
Let's assume San Francisco average. Brock Purdy had an 8.4 yard per attempt average. Let's say every pass was around there. Deebo Samuel averaged 21.5 yards per attempt. George Kittle almost 13 yards. Juwan Jennings 15 yards. Ronnie Bell 12 yards. Christian McCaffrey 5 yards per rushing attempt. This team doesn't just beat you through the air, which they can, but it's after they get the ball in their hands, they say, come get us, because we know you're not going to be able to. They want to run right through the safeties, the linebackers. And honestly, I would love to see Deebo Samuel against Micah Parsons and to see who wins. You have defensive player of the year candidate. You have Deebo Samuel who wants to run through anybody. I want to see the just 2 forces meet and to see actually who wins that battle.
What is that, like immovable object against unstoppable force?
Exactly.
Right? Like Micah Parsons is immovable and Deebo Samuel is unstoppable.
That to me would be like
Clash of the Titans.
Get those 2 guys in space, and it's just that's the only thing I want to watch all night long.
Oh my God.
Lionel Richie.
Hey, well, we're going to get that in a couple of weeks. Sunday Night Football, Niners-Cowboys, week number 5. Don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but there is a very, very real chance those are 2 4-0 teams.
The text line, Giants had 316 punting yards tonight. Giants suck. They're so bad.
Shout out 510. Digging through the box score. Appreciate that one.
Xfinity mobile text line. Just letting us know.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's go back to the phone lines here. 888-957-9570. That's the number to call. You just heard Sterling shout out the Xfinity mobile text line. It's the same number, 888-957-9570. Up next is, let's see. Let's go to Nick. He was at Levi's Stadium. Nick, you're on overtime here on 95.7 The Game. What was it like down in Santa Clara tonight, Nick?
Man, the vibe was great. It was electric. Everybody was super hyped. I mean, the sun was glaring. It made the field look really weird. Like, the gold helmets were, like, lighting up with the smoke haze and the lights, man. It was intense, man. And you know what? It's like Levi's is finally feeling like, you know, like Candlestick used to feel, man. It's like it's not all shiny and new. It's got a little, you know, beer spills here and there and whatnot. And the crowd was going crazy. The halftime show was great. But let me tell you something, man. The difference between Brock Purdy and everybody else that we've had in years past for a long time, man, is Purdy is throwing it up and letting the receivers make plays on the balls, man. And Shanahan trusts the guy enough to where we're throwing to the end zone instead of going check down Charlie like inside the 10 and having to kick a field goal when we've been down in the red zone for 3 plays. You know what I mean? So we're scoring late and we're going for it, man. And the team is out there balling. It was a slugfest tonight early on. The Giants tried to impose their will, but they quit pretty much midway through the second quarter. They knew it was over, and we came out in the second half and let them have it. You know, they tried to keep it close for a minute, man, but it was all they could do, man, to even get that close because our defense swarmed on them when it counted. And let me tell you something, man. Brock Purdy, we are watching the ascension of the next NFL's top quarterback, man. This guy is something special. What y'all think about that?
Hey, Nick, appreciate the call. Thanks for tuning in here on Overtime on 95.7 The Game. The extension of the next guy, the next quarterback, the next best quarterback in the NFL, Sterling. What do you think about that? This might be a little too strong for my taste. He had an incredible second half. You and I both agree he was not sharp in the first half. Not sharp at all, but the Niners were still out in front 17-6 at halftime. That's how good this team is. But in the second half, Sterling, Brock Purdy put together what might be his best full game as a 49er, and he did it all in the second half. He was unstoppable in the second half. So I think to the caller's point, maybe the best half of football he's ever played for the San Francisco 49ers. I still think saying he's the next greatest thing in the league is a little too strong. I mean, this guy's, this is only his 9th career regular season start? Like, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but he was absolutely perfect in the second half.
Early in this game, looked like he had no rhythm, was overthrowing plenty of receivers, throwing into double coverage a handful of times, almost threw a couple picks early in this game. Yeah. But first half, 5 for 11, 68 yards. Second half, Brock Purdy, that flip was switched up to it's go time.
Yeah.
20 for 26, 242 yards and 2 touchdowns. Brock Purdy played the casual Brock Purdy outing alone in that second half, and tonight finished with over 300 yards passing, and a night you can probably put into a box and say, I can do a lot better. Imagine if they start off hot. Imagine if they don't settle for 2 field goals in the red zone. I mean, this team, again, has not reached their potential. Even Brock Purdy the past 2 weeks hasn't played his best football overall, and to me, knowing you kind of have a cakewalk against the Cardinals next week, albeit divisional game. They're always a little tougher, but a team that is actively tanking, trying to lose, where if they're up by 5 points, the owner's like, what are you doing, Gannon? We have to lose this game for Caleb Williams. Next week could be a game where Brock Purdy has 300 yards through the air. If you can clean some certain things up, we're talking maybe 4 touchdowns. Now, again, that's 10 days away. This is tonight. Brock Purdy looked like 2 different quarterbacks in this game, and once he got comfortable, fought through his issues and his misses and his near interceptions, looked really good, and for 2 straight weeks and really 3 straight weeks, yet to throw an interception. He's taking care of the football, keeping his team in the game, even when he's not playing his best ball, and that might be his best characteristic through the first 3 games of the season so far.
Yeah, 3 games, no interceptions, 1 turnover on a strip sack. TJ Watt got him for that, but TJ Watt is the Steelers' all-time franchise sack leader. He's a future Hall of Famer.
He stinks.
He's phenomenal, but Brock Purdy, you'll take 1 turnover in 3 games. Right. If it's a pick, if it's a fumble, whatever it is, 1 turnover over 3 games, this Niners team is going to be the 1 seed in the West or in the NFC. If that happens, if he commits 1 turnover for every 3 games played, this Niner team will be just fine moving forward. All right, 888-957-9570. That's the Xfinity mobile text line and the number to call. Let's go to Manuel in Newark. You want to talk about Brock Purdy's performance. Manuel, you're on overtime with Grandy and Sterling. What's up? What'd you think of Brock Purdy tonight?
Look, guys, I'm going to actually say this. Hey, thanks for the line, by the way. Great game, man. Great game all around. We have special teams, we have defense, and we have a Brock star, as we call him. You know what, guys? Man, I'm going to call it right now. My friends think I'm insane, but I'm going to call it right now. I know it's early, but it's Super Bowl time, guys. With this kid, you guys have said it. He has not yet hit his peak. Yes, he did not have a perfect first half of football, but you know what? That separates greatness from mediocrity, because you know what? He hung in there. He hung tough. He cleaned it up. And in the end, he shone like the star that he is. Guys, my eyes have seen quarterback after quarterback after quarterback in this franchise. No disrespect against Cap. No disrespect against Alex. No disrespect against Jimmy G. But the kid has an it factor, man. We can't deny it as fans. He has an it factor, and his football IQ impresses me week in and week out. I mean, I've joked around with fellas at work saying that I'm going to get me a Brock Purdy jersey and remove the name Purdy from the back and put the sacred Montana name on it. I'm going to stamp it right here. We're seeing the development of the next franchise quarterback for this 49ers squad, guys. Mark my words, this kid is going to take us to the promised land 2 or 3 times at the most. If he plays at the potential that he has shown, I mean, I could be like Luke Skywalker at the end of the movie and just fade into the sunset, knowing that this quarterback has made my franchise proud, man. He's making me proud as a fan, seeing his quarterback play. It ain't perfect, but when was the last time have we seen this offense rack up 30 points a game? I mean, if he could take back some of those passes, what would the score have been? 45? And guys, let's be real about it. Joe never had perfect games either. I remember one time watching a Falcons game going, Joe, what are you doing? Next thing I know, he's throwing 5 touchdowns. So, you know what? Man, I am all in on Brock. It's Super Bowl time, guys. Believe it right now. The Warriors said we believe in Brock. Let's go, Niner fans.
Hey, Manuel, good call. I love your energy. I love your enthusiasm. And I'll say...
You could just buy a Montana jersey, though, if you're going to take the name off the back of a Purdy one.
Or I mean, just be happy with the Purdy jersey, right?
But I get what he's saying. Yes.
I get what he's saying, too. Now, the multiple Super Bowl talk, okay, whatever. I'm not going anywhere near that far.
Hey, Mark, it's going to happen.
All I will say, I understand Niners fans like Manuel who feel that way, right? I mean, he listed some of the other Niners quarterbacks. You could even throw Jeff Garcia, who's maybe the last
4,000-yard passer in Niner history so far.
Jeff Garcia, and then there was just a whole run of really
Chris
bad...
Winky, Ken Dorsey, Tim Rattay, the dark days.
Really bad quarterback play. Sean Hill, JT O'Sullivan for a couple of games, right? Like there was...
QB School on YouTube.
Hey, I love JT O'Sullivan. Not a very good NFL quarterback.
Oh.
And then, you get to Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick, and then obviously some more down Brian Hoyer and Blaine Gabbert, right, and all those guys. And then you get to Jimmy Garoppolo and now Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is making Niner fans feel differently than any of those guys have. 100%. And it's why I don't just immediately laugh at fans like Manuel who are like, this guy's leading us to multiple Super Bowls. Because Niner fans for so long have just waited and prayed and yearned and waited and loved for this possible moment, right? Like, this franchise has been so quarterback starved for so long. It's been the one thing that has kept this team from winning a Super Bowl. I mean, you think back to, even the Jim Harbaugh days. Kaepernick was phenomenal that year, but there were certain limitations to what the Niners could do with Alex Smith, with Colin Kaepernick. You think back to 2019 when this team went to the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. I know that there were issues defensively in that fourth quarter, but Jimmy Garoppolo overthrowing Emmanuel Sanders, they barely had to throw the ball leading up to that. This franchise has been so quarterback starved for so long, and I'm not here to proclaim that Brock Purdy's a future Hall of Famer, but he's making me feel different than any other quarterback in my lifetime. Really, post Steve Young, he's making me feel different than anyone I have ever watched play quarterback for this franchise. So I understand why there are some fans out there who are saying, Sterling, we're winning the bowl. We're winning multiple bowls. I get it. I can feel it too.
This is the most unified this fan base has been for a quarterback since Steve Young. There was some sparkle with Jimmy of 5-0, then his first full season, they go to a Super Bowl and they ultimately lose, but this is the most unified they've been. Kaepernick and Smith, people were saying, put Smith back in. Some were saying, Cap's the guy, and before that, it was a bunch of ugly, but yes, this has been the most unified, where the text line, Xfinity Mobile text line, 510, we're calling him Brock Tana. You got guys, you got fans saying, I'm going to take and buy a Brock Purdy jersey and put Montana's name on the back of it. Now, maybe that's a little too far, and the YouTube's certainly saying something about that, but people are starting to get behind this quarterback, and how can you not get behind being undefeated? How can you not get behind 30 points a game? I mean, this offense, yes, has so many weapons, but the quarterback play, is really good. It's somehow underrated. I'm seeing quarterback rankings and tier lists being made of Justin Fields is better than Brock Purdy. Kirk Cousins is better than Brock Purdy. No.
I'm out.
Can the national media, this fan base is behind him fully. The national, he should be on the front of every single newspaper in the country.
He should be a bigger story. He was Mr. Irrelevant a year and a half ago, and now he hasn't lost a game in which he started and finished. He hasn't lost. And he's putting up 30 points when the offense isn't playing near their best. My goodness, this should be the number one story in sports.
It's Deion and Brock, but no one's talking about Brock Purdy. But let me say this. Is it better that way? Is it better that Brock Purdy isn't the number one name on the marquee? The pregame show on Amazon Prime and Fox tonight, well, they have Christian McCaffrey and Daniel Jones. I mean, now, we've seen that over and over again here the past, 4 or 5 seasons under Shanahan with Jimmy G, and usually it's somebody else other than the quarterback on the pregame, promo for this game. On social media, it's not Brock Purdy's face, but it does feel like that right now, Brock Purdy is the biggest yet most underrated star in football, where he's yet to lose a game. His offense is putting up 30 points a game, and even tonight, he throws a dot to Christian McCaffrey, and he drops it. They could have put up 37.
That was a good throw. You're right.
They could have put up 37 and still had a room to grow. I mean, Mark, 37 points and still room to grow. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
All right, let's go back to the phones. 888-957-9570. Rob in San Bruno wants to talk about Purdy. Rob, you think Purdy still has some work to do? What did you see, Rob, from Brock Purdy tonight? You're on overtime here on 95.7 The Game.
Let's first off, this is a good old-fashioned 49er type win. You had Deebo, you had Kittle, and you had CMC. You had the defense consistently getting the ball back for the 49ers because the Giants' offense was so not good. It's not good. And secondly, let's slow down on this Brock Purdy stuff. Brock Purdy did not look good at all. He made a few plays, but that, like I said, that was more of Deebo breaking tackles, Kittle breaking tackles, throwing 5-yard passes, and then Kittle running for 12 yards, Deebo catching the 10-yard play and going for 30 more yards. We need to, let's stop, all right? We did the same thing with Jimmy G. We was excited about Jimmy G in 2017, called him the next big thing. Oh, he was top 10 quarterback coming in 2018 season. No, it's about the run game, and it's about the defense. Purdy, I give Purdy credit this. He didn't turn the ball over, but he fumbled the snap last week, another fumble snap. But to me, he's Jimmy G with better feet. I mean, we still...
Well, Rob. Brock Purdy has a 23 touchdown to 4 turnover ratio in the NFL. How does, 5-1, 6-1, how does that not get you excited to say you're on the bandwagon? You're ready to go.
Yeah. I think Rob left. But, I also understand the hesitation at some point as well, because this franchise has been in this sort of situation before, where Colin Kaepernick bursts onto the scene, right? And he's absolutely dominant. And he takes the league by storm. And the league has never seen this combination of arm strength and speed.
Yep.
And you don't know how to defend it. But then guess what? The league adjusts.
We've been teased too often here.
100%. Same thing happened with Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, that was the 2017 season when he came over midseason after a trade from the Patriots. Shanahan said, we don't want to play him. We want him to just, dive into the playbook and get ready for the start of the 2018 season. Injuries happened. They had to throw Jimmy Garoppolo in. And he wins out with a terrible team around him against some quality football teams. Like, he beat Jacksonville that year. Jacksonville was a couple of plays from going to the Super Bowl that season. That's how good that Jacksonville team was, which is hard to believe considering what the Jaguars franchise has been for a long time. But that was a great Jacksonville Jaguars team. And
Jacksonville.
Yeah. I mean, they were incredible. And then that was the offseason when the Niners made Jimmy Garoppolo, at the time, the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. So you're thinking, if you're a Niner fan, which is what the caller was getting at, you're thinking this is the next big thing, right? We all know how that ended. Wrong. Not the next big thing. So I get...
But he's not getting $27 million a year.
100%.
He's getting like $800,000.
All I'm saying is I get the hesitation.
Right.
I get wanting to... not dive headfirst into this guy.
Let's not proclaim him the next guy when it's been 9 games.
We have been heartbroken before. We don't want to be heartbroken again.
I'm ready to get hurt again, Mark. I'm on the Brock Purdy train. Let me get hurt.
But you can understand that, right?
Yes.
This feels different to me. It feels different than the Kaepernick, than the Jimmy Garoppolo. But I get the hesitation because we were let down both of those times.
But it doesn't just feel different. It looks different. I get it. This offense has an archetype. It wants a facilitator at quarterback. Again, text line saying again, he's not getting attention because he's throwing screens and end arounds and quick stuff and letting his stars do the work for him. But Brock Purdy this year has thrown 2 back shoulder fades in the end zone for touchdowns.
When was the last time that happened for a Niners quarterback?
Jimmy Garoppolo has the 3rd highest win percentage here. Had a top 5 offense every year he was actually fully healthy. They're putting up more points than successful teams. Brock Purdy's throwing the ball deep, even when guys are in. Look, the first half tonight wasn't pretty by any means, but he's at least giving his stars a chance.
Yep.
Previous quarterbacks here haven't done that. Brock Purdy doesn't just look or feel different. He looks different. It looks like something special.
100%. And I think if his performance in the first half carried into the second half, this conversation would be different.
Different story.
He was incredible in the second half. He made a number of phenomenal throws, and he led the Niners to their 3rd consecutive 30-point output to begin the 2023 regular season. And the Niners are 3-0, building on their lead in the NFC West in the early going. All right, time for a quick break. Phone lines are full. I see you, Dre, Walter, Jake, and company. We're coming to you on the other side as overtime continues here on 95.7 The Game. Grandy and Sterling with you. More coming up after this on 95.7 The Game.
This is Matt Coker from West Coast Men's Health. I'm proud to let you know that nationwide, our clinics have a 4.7 out of 5.
McCaffrey now has scored a touchdown in 12 consecutive games, including the playoffs.
Now back to Overtime with Sterling Bennett, Alan Stiles, and Mark Grandy on 95.7 The Game.
Welcome back. Overtime continues. No Alan Stiles tonight. It's Grandy and Sterling with you after the 49ers knock off the New York Giants in the first game at Levi's Stadium this year. 30-12 the final score. A dominant Niners win. That call you just heard, Al Michaels on the NFL Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime Video, courtesy of Fox here in the Bay Area. Those of you here locally watching the game on television. Christian McCaffrey, 4-yard touchdown run late in the first half. That made it a 17-3 lead. Sterling, it would not be a dominant Niners performance, a complete Niners performance, without C-Mac getting into the end zone. As you heard Al Michaels say, every game that he's played with for the 49ers, he's been into the end zone. He's incredible. 12 straight games with a touchdown for Christian McCaffrey. And at this point, you'd be surprised if he didn't get into the end zone how he's playing.
What, 5,000 career rushing yards?
He hit that tonight, yeah.
Christian McCaffrey, I know Nick Chubb just got hurt, and again, I hope he can get healthy again, but he is, I think, the most dynamic offensive player in football. Like, Micah Parsons, probably the most dynamic defensive player. Christian McCaffrey, I think, what he can do on the ground, through the air. Again, dropped a touchdown pass today, which was going to be a tough play, but still hit him right in the hands. Christian McCaffrey, when he doesn't have 20 carries and 120 yards, he came into this game averaging 120 yards. Like, Christian McCaffrey has been, we know, the difference maker in the offense, making them more explosive, but when he doesn't have 120 yards on the ground and 1 touchdown or 2 touchdowns a game, I go, what happened? Like, he's been that good where when he doesn't have these insane numbers, I go, well, wait a minute now. They're not giving the ball? Like, why weren't they feeding him? And tonight, Deebo Samuel said, feed me. Give me the ball, and I'll carry this offense. And Deebo was great. See, you got it, Mark, right here. 510, CMC has nothing on Legatron. Man, people are buying into Legatron. Jake Moody, perfect so far through the year. And this offense, special teams, defense.
People are buying into
They're buying in. I'm telling you, man. They're buying in Legatron, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo, Kittle. Doesn't matter. We beat you on all fronts, defense, offense, and now special teams.
I think what's crazy about McCaffrey, and we mentioned this off the very top, and you're listening to Overtime here on 95.7 The Game, 888-957-9570. It's the Xfinity mobile text line as well, and we're keeping an eye on Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. McCaffrey, 18 carries, 85 yards, nearly 5 a pop, and a touchdown. Through the air, 5 for 34. Those are both season highs, by the way. He's been held relatively in check through the air, but 5 catches for 34 yards tonight. It was a relatively quiet day for McCaffrey. I mean, he didn't burst, he didn't break through for the 50-yard run like he did in week 1 and week 2, and I'm by no means saying it was a bad game.
You're saying he stinks, huh, Mark?
He was like 120 all-purpose yards.
Yeah.
It was relatively quiet. Like, when you consider what it feels like when any other player in the league gets 120 all-purpose yards,
right,
generally it's loud. It's like, oh, he was the star of the game.
Yep.
He willed his team to victory, and he was phenomenal. He was fantastic. This is not an 18-point win without Christian McCaffrey, not even close. He is at times a victim of his own expectations because he's just so damn good. He made this look pedestrian, and it was far from pedestrian.
The Niners today had 3 players over 100 or 90 all-purpose yards.
And you're more, yeah.
Like, again, with Christian McCaffrey, when you sit back and just watch the offense play, tonight felt more like a smash-mouth style of football where we don't need to have 20 yards a catch or have the big 50-yard run. It was, we are going to take time off the clock, take 7 minutes off the clock, go down there, put some points on the board, and make you beat us. It just happens to be that San Francisco, on those long drives, their offense is so good, their defense is so good that they can take 7 minutes off the clock and still put up 30.
Yeah.
Or Christian McCaffrey sitting back saying, yeah, I'll take almost 5 yards a pop, 85 yards on the ground, and 1 touchdown. My longest play, 12 yards on the ground. Doesn't matter. 17 yards through the air. Doesn't matter. If Christian McCaffrey on his worst day of the year, which is still over 100 yards all purpose, if that's his worst game, yeah, I think we'll all take that.
100%. He was phenomenal once again. Deebo Samuel was incredible. 129 yards through the air and a touchdown. Had a 40-yard catch and run. He was just a highlight reel, a human highlight reel all night long. He was incredible and a big reason why the 49ers are 3-0 and why they won tonight 30-12 over the New York Giants. All right, let's go back to the phone lines here. Full phone lines. If you want to get in, 888-957-9570. Are you driving back from Levi's right now? We want to hear from you. Again, 888-9570. Or 888-957-9570. Excuse me. We're very curious what it felt like inside of Levi's tonight. Watching Brock Purdy, did it feel different than past great Niner teams? How did this one feel to you? Up first, we have Dre in Lemoore. Dre, I know you want to talk about Brock Purdy. Welcome. You're on Overtime on 95.7 The Game. What's up?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I don't know what's up with the Odyssey app. I'm like 3 hours behind. I'm still listening to the Fox, what's going on during the game. So anyways, when I got on, I heard that guy Rob on the phone talking bad about Purdy, and I'm like, what is this guy talking about? I know Purdy didn't start the game out very good. He was rather pedestrian, as you would say earlier. That's the worst I've ever seen him look in that first half. But the second half came, the man got his stuff together. He was putting the ball on the money, as usual. You just mentioned that pass to McCaffrey. That was a dime in the end zone. What was that, like 30, 35 yards in the air? McCaffrey would tell you he needs to catch that ball. And that one to Deebo to end the night for him, that was a dime right there. Back shoulder fade. Hey, I've watched a lot of Niner quarterbacks. I've been to a lot of playoff games. I've seen Joe in the playoffs. I've seen Young in the playoffs. Heck, I was at that New York Giants game where Garcia came back. That was a great game. I was at the game where Smith against New Orleans came back against them. Wow. I was at the game where Kaepernick ran all over Green Bay. I haven't seen Purdy in the playoffs yet, but I'll tell you what, it does feel a little different. He reminds me a lot, dare I say it, of Joe Cool. Just the way he does not let things get to him. He's relaxed. Hey, look how young he is. Things don't go his way. He came back in the second half. Things went his way. I know he should have threw some interceptions today. That was a nice DB play by Kittle to help him out. But, guys, whoever's talking bad about him and they're Niner fans, you guys are crazy. I can see it in the national media, but you should jump on the bandwagon right now because we've got something special, and without injury, this is here to last. And the man is going to be making millions of dollars here in a couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, of course, Dre. Thanks for making it. Really appreciate you tuning in here on Overtime. First of all, I just got to say to Dre, all those playoff games he's been to, I am jealous.
Where hasn't he been?
Oh, my God. You got to see the Niners, Alex Smith against the Saints playoff win. You got to see Colin Kaepernick running against the Packers in the playoffs.
He was like, I got to see the Kyle Williams. Oh, I'm sorry. Too
Craig,
soon.
why you got to bring us
Get
down?
off the mic. Get off the mic.
Why you got to bring us down? This is a celebration on Overtime. You're on 95.7 The Game. But no, I mean, I'm with Dre. Like, again, I think it's a little crazy to compare him to one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and until a guy named Tom Brady came along, the greatest quarterback of all time, Joe Montana. But
Brock Pontana.
Okay,
Sorry.
No, that was not very good.
I'll leave. Sorry.
Yeah, bye, Sterling. See you later. It just feels a little different. I can't quite quantify it. Right. It's hard to describe, but in my bones, this just feels a little different. And I think Dre is spot on. You watch the first half and you're like, ooh, this wasn't very good. I mean, the first drive could have easily thrown an interception. He mentioned the throw to Kittle. Kittle basically became the defensive back and knocked the ball away. Once they got into the red zone, Purdy kind of threw what felt like a close your eyes and huck it up into the end zone to Deebo Samuel. Could have been intercepted. It fell incomplete. There were some shaky moments. There really were. But the way he bounced back, I think it happened more so midway through the second quarter, and it continued into the second half. The throw to McCaffrey that McCaffrey dropped, 100% he'll say that he needs to catch that. In fact, he's talked. We're going to hear from Christian McCaffrey before the night's over, I'm sure. I guarantee you he says, I should have caught that one. I guarantee it. The throw to Deebo Samuel was incredible. A conversion over the middle to Juwan Jennings that moved the sticks on 3rd and long. That was a really nice throw. He made some phenomenal throws with pressure in his face. The touchdown to Ronnie Bell, that was in the first half.
Yeah.
Pressure in his face, a free rusher coming off the left side. No one even touches him. No one blocks him. A free rush right into Purdy's face. He backs up, throws it off his back foot. I believe it was over Kayvon Thibodeau, who's a really long and athletic edge rusher. By the way, go Ducks. I would know. And
now you can leave.
He puts it right in the breadbasket to Ronnie Bell. There were some bad moments.
Yeah.
I'm not denying that. But for every bad throw he made tonight, he responded with an incredible one. And that kind of, I don't know, mental toughness, that fortitude, I think is something that Niners have lacked at this position for a long time. The fact that he was able to put a really questionable start behind him, I think it goes a long way. I think it says a lot about this dude's makeup.
A wise man once said, stats are for losers, show me a win. What does Brock Purdy do? Oh, he is undefeated.
All he does is win.
If there's one word to describe Brock Purdy's, 12 games thus far, it might be the word perfect. Now, the play may not be perfect, but the outcome has been so far. In fact, I'll read you some stats, even though I just said they were for losers, but Brock Purdy, since week 14, his first start last year, what is he? 8-0. What does that do? Lead the NFL. His touchdown to interception ratio in the regular season, 15-2. What is that? Second in the NFL. Yards per attempt, 8.5. Second in the NFL. And passer rating, 113.6. First in the NFL. And the highest for a quarterback since 1996, 1997. Good old boy, Steve Young. Brock Purdy, again, short sample size. I get it. Even tonight when they were struggling, guess what? They were up 17-6 at home against the Giants, who had no life, and Daniel Jones is out there looking at Nick Bosa and Javon Hargrave and saying, oh my goodness, how am I going to score against this defense?
Drake Jackson, too.
I mean,
he was good.
The Niners are so good.
They are.
But Brock Purdy tonight, again, through his worst first half, maybe his entire career so far, still up by 9. Like, this team is good enough to overcome his mistakes, and Brock Purdy's good enough to not make the mistakes.
Yeah, it got to a 5-point game, 10 minutes left in the third quarter. Former Niner Matt Breida ran in from 8 yards out, made it a 5-point game, 17-12. From that moment on, the Niners outscore the Giants 13-0 the rest of the way. And from that moment on, Brock Purdy was nearly perfect. He was fantastic. When it seems like this, and it was like this against the Rams last week as well. Mm-hmm. The Niners go down by 7 towards the end of the first half. Rams get the ball to begin the third quarter. You're thinking in a 2-minute drill, Brock, we could really use a touchdown here. What does he do? He goes out and gets you a touchdown. I know it's been relatively small sample size. You saw it on the road against the Raiders last year. The team was down in the fourth quarter. You saw it on the road in his second career start against the Seahawks when that was a tough game throughout. That clinched them the NFC West. You saw it in the playoffs against the Seahawks. They were down at halftime in that game, and the Cowboys game was a dogfight until late in the fourth quarter as well when he put it away. He always seems to come through when you need it.
Yeah.
Like when in his entire career, which again I know is not this gigantic sample size, but when in his career have you felt like, we need a touchdown here or we're in trouble? And when has he not given you a touchdown?
Micah Parsons, Dallas Cowboys star defensive player, said he wanted to see Brock Purdy play against adversity, but adversity comes at you in different forms, right? It can be a 3rd down and 12. Well, Brock Purdy, he'll hit that. It can be late in the game. Need a touchdown to ice this one and get out a Thursday night football primetime home opener against the Giants and seal a victory and go to 3-0. What does Brock Purdy do? Hi, Deebo Samuel. Here's a touchdown. Brock Purdy, again, he's undefeated. Every big moment, maybe -1, the one he got hurt in, which is not his fault. It's not like you can quantify, Brock Purdy did this thing wrong in that game. Brock Purdy has really been perfect. Yes, again, there are small things you can point to and say, I want more air yards. He's allowing Deebo and McCaffrey and Ayuk and George Kittle to do their job. why would I ever blame a quarterback for allowing his stars to eat? There's enough food to go around here, folks.
If you can put up 30 points by just dumping it off in the flat, why would you do anything else?
It's like, I guarantee you no one's sitting back saying, you know what? Down 17-10 against the Rams, we needed a touchdown. Brock Purdy didn't throw a 45-yard touchdown pass. No, what do? Deebo, here's 22. McCaffrey, here's 15. I'm going to quarterback sneak for a touchdown. Like, it may not be how the world wants it to be. Mahomes-like, maybe to a certain degree, Joe Burrow-like, Tua Tagovailoa-like, but guess what? I guarantee you, if they're playing those teams in February, you're going to say, we have a chance to win, and the odds are in our favor. And what does that mean? That means Brock Purdy's the guy, and he's going to be here for a long time.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to the phones. 888-957-9570 is the number to call. It's also the Xfinity mobile text line. Walter in Pinole, I know you've been hanging on for a while. Walter, you're on overtime on 95.7 The Game. What'd you think of that game tonight, Walter?
It's kind of a theme. The Niners are getting killed on the first half there, but then the theme here is the adjustments on the second half. Those adjustments on the second half, they come back, and the defense and the offense, they do their thing. But tonight, Mitchell, I kind of give him a D plus, but Ronnie Bell, A plus, and let's not forget that Bosa sack.
Yeah, no, Walter, you're 100% right. I mean, there were contributions up and down the roster. We've been on the air for almost an hour and a half. We haven't mentioned Nick Bosa getting his first sack of the year.
He kind of had two of them, actually.
Yeah.
2-point conversion, out there shrugging. Granted, unblocked on the first one. How do you not block Nick Bosa? We harped all off season long. Eagles, how do you not block Hassan Reddick? The Giants were like, Nick Bosa, reigning defensive player of the year. We don't care. Go ahead, Daniel Jones.
I guarantee you, Wink Martindale, defensive coordinator for the Giants, has already brought that play up to his offensive line and to his tight end. I don't care what the formation was, because they had the tight end lined up on the outside shoulder of Nick Bosa. Nowhere near
gave him a free lane to the quarterback.
Nowhere near able to get in front of Bosa and block him. You have to be square in front of him to have a chance. You can't be off to the side of him. And then it was the right tackle, because Bosa was rushing off the left side. The right tackle knows that the tight end isn't going to do anything against Bosa and just ignores him. He's like, what are we doing here? That is going to be all over the Giants tape study, I think, this week moving forward, because that was a very questionable mistake.
That was probably Nick Bosa's easiest sack of his entire career.
Maybe. It's up there.
Talk about, get your first one tonight. That may have been the easiest sack
Shake off the cobwebs,
ever get. And if that's the one to get your first sack of the year and kind of get your groove back, why not be a straight line unblocked sack on Daniel Jones to almost actually get a safety and force a punt later in the drive? But Nick Bosa, great game tonight. Trent Williams throwing punches, not getting ejected. It felt like every single star, whether it was a highlight or, again, Trent Williams punching someone in the face and not getting tossed out of the game, all the big stars had something to do tonight, and it showed in the box score and showed really right now with, again, Trent Williams threw a punch, and they were like, hey, you can stay in the game.
Yeah, that was wild. All right, let's get to a couple more calls here before we hit a break. Up next, Jake in Jersey. Jake, you're on overtime with Grandy and Sterling. Jake, what'd you think of the Niners win tonight over the Giants?
I thought it was amazing, man. It was a pleasure to watch. I appreciate taking the call, man.
Yeah, of course. What do you think overall? I mean, Brock Purdy played well. Deebo Samuel was incredible. What stood out to you, Jake?
My highlight was probably Deebo Samuel and Brock Purdy. I feel like that connection. I feel like it's like the chemistry they had between those two. He has chemistry with everybody. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Yeah. So I had at one point. So I think you agree that Brock Purdy is top 10 quarterback in football right now. You would agree with that statement?
Oh, I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit. I think he's right up there. I mean, he's got to be pushing that boundary at least.
Better than Mac Jones.
Yeah. So I had a thought. Now, what if you switched up Daniel Jones for Brock Purdy today? What would the score be? Would it be different? Do you think the Giants would be closer? Just a thought.
Oh, that's interesting, Jake. So if Brock Purdy was the quarterback for the Giants tonight and Daniel Jones was the quarterback of the Niners
still win.
Yes.
I don't think this game particularly came down to quarterback play.
No.
Like Daniel Jones having, again, 137 yards through the air, 4.3 yards per attempt, 1 interception late, Hufanga getting his second one of the season, and 5 yards on the ground. Like, just take those box scores and put it on San Francisco.
If Daniel Jones kept the Giants in the game using his legs, then okay, fine. But he didn't. He did nothing on the ground. I think Brock Purdy on the Giants, Daniel Jones on the Niners. Purdy and the Giants probably make this a little bit closer than the 18-point loss that we saw as that actually happened.
I think Brock Purdy being on the Giants, they might be able to capitalize on San Francisco's slow start, but as soon as that second half starts, it's all San Francisco.
Yeah. There's just too much from everywhere else, not from the quarterback position, from wide receivers, from running backs, from the tight end, from the defensive line. Their interception late in the game by Hufanga. I mean,
well, Mooney Ward, then Warner, then Hufanga, but yes.
A couple of assists there on that interception for sure. All right, let's go back to the phone lines, 888-957-9570. Robert, you're on 580, heading home from the game. Robert, you're on overtime here on 95.7 The Game. What was it like inside of Levi's tonight?
Oh, man. Hey, fellas, that place was rocking tonight. Hey, look, I don't care what anybody says. Yeah, we didn't look great in the first half, but I think any team in the league would take 17 points in the first half, not looking as good as looking the way we did. And we got to give a shout out to that defense, y'all. Our defense was good tonight, man. We stopped them. I mean, we just looked great. I think we looked really good. And Purdy got a new name for me. His name is 30 Purdy to me. That's 3 weeks in a row we didn't put up 30 points. So hey, give it to the dude. I like him. I think we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine, man. That defense is keeping us in games. And, yeah, let's go. Let's go. Bang, bang, Niner gang. 30-30, I'm out, fellas.
Yes, sir, Robert. Love the call. Yeah.
We got Brock Tanna.
I don't like that one as much. Purdy 30, I'm in on that.
Brocky P still on the table, Mark.
No.
That's the best one so far.
Purdy 30. That's a good one. Did you say Purdy 30 or 30 Purdy? They both work.
It's an ESPN 30 for Purdy. I'm going to leave now,
pretty consistently. All right. We got a lot more to get into here on Overtime on 95.7 The Game. Time for a quick break. When we come back, we can talk about the defense. A lot to talk about the defense, really. We mentioned George Kittle, Javon Hargrave had a sack. We can get into that. Also, we've got sound from Kyle Shanahan. He has addressed the media. What did he think about Brock Purdy? What did he think about Deebo Samuel? What's the word on Deebo Samuel's chest/ribs? We'll get the word from Kyle Shanahan. That and a whole lot more coming up on Overtime here on 95.7 The Game. It's Grandy and Sterling. More right after this on 95.7 The Game.
Every business deserves a great deal. That's why, for a limited time, we're launching the mobile-made...
blitz and get burned. 27 yards.
Now back to overtime with Sterling Bennett, Alan Stiles, and Mark Grandy on 95.7 The Game.
Welcome back. Overtime continues here on 95.7 The Game. No Alan Stiles tonight, but Mark Grandy and Sterling Bennett with you. That highlight you just heard, the Deebo Samuel 27-yard touchdown catch from Brock Purdy. No yak on that play. 27 yards down the right sideline. Back shoulder throw to Deebo Samuel. 27-yard touchdown. It put the game out of reach. 30-12 the score at that point, and that was the final as well. Niners now 3-0. The Giants fall to 1-2. And the line from Al Michaels there, as you heard, Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime Video. If you're watching in the Bay Area, you watch it on KTVU Channel 2. The line from Al Michaels at the end, they blitz and they get burnt. That was kind of the story of this game. The Giants are a very blitz-happy defense. They did it in the first half. It kind of worked in their favor. They kept blitzing in the second half. The Niners adjusted, and they controlled the game as a result. That was just one example. Brock Purdy facing the pressure, putting a perfect throw down the field to Deebo Samuel, and making the Giants pay for blitzing against him. He was lethal in that second half.
Giants came into today with a blitz rate of 42%, the fourth highest in football.
That's a lot.
Had yet to record a sack. They got, 2 today, so kudos to them. It's all about the moral victory, because they weren't going to actually get a victory today. You call them the G-men, Mark? I'm going to call them the L-men. Niners are handing out L's. Pittsburgh, you take it. Like Oprah. Pittsburgh, you take an L. The Rams, you take an L. The Giants, you take an L. All San Francisco does is win, DJ Khaled, and all they do is hand out L's every game so far. 3-0 to begin the year, but like you said, second half adjustments. Steve Wilkes made some last week against the Rams, really turned that game on its head. This week, Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan, the offense, they make some changes, and look, put up 30 points again.
Yeah, 100%. If you're still driving home from Levi's, maybe you're in the North Bay and it's a long drive for you from Santa Clara, or the traffic has been bad, you're still sitting in your car, we want to hear from you. 888-957-9570. You're laughing, but the traffic down there is terrible.
They're probably still in the parking lot. It's Levi's Stadium. I've been there plenty of times for practices and whatnot. It's becoming a home for the Niners, 11, 10 years into its existence, but getting out of the parking lot is not fun.
They haven't figured out the flow of traffic yet.
I've been to Dodger Stadium twice in my entire life.
Nice.
Getting out of there is atrocious. Levi's Stadium is way worse. So if you're in the Levi's Stadium parking lot, I don't know where, the yellow, the blue, whatever you're at, give us a call.
Yeah.
Give us a text. Tell us how you felt. Tell us how the stadium was when Trent Williams was throwing left and right hooks on the Giants, calling them love taps. Trent, that was not a love tap, my friend. You could have broke your hand if your fist
was
was
a closed fist against the face mask. Well, that's not smart. You might break a finger, Trent.
He said 6 seconds left in the first half. I'm swinging. It was like, Trent, don't.
I'm surprised he didn't get ejected for that, honestly.
He should have. I mean, if there was something that's going to get you tossed out, he'd be throwing a punch, and, well, he club fist to the face mask of A'Shawn Robinson. But
that was a punch.
In the game, Jalen Moore didn't play, thankfully.
They have a bit of a history. A'Shawn Robinson and Trent. A'Shawn Robinson, a former Ram. Mm-hmm. No love lost between those two. They're not fans of each other. We'll just put it that way.
It was like an L-shaped fist. You're going to take this, A'Shawn, right to the mouth.
Okay. Got a little too far there, Sterling.
Just handing out L's.
But yeah, give us a call, 888-957-9570. We will talk about the defense in a little bit, but I did want to hear from the head coach, Kyle Shanahan. He has talked post-game. Here's what he had to say about his quarterback, Brock Purdy, 25 of 37, 310 yards and 2 touchdowns. Did not turn the ball over at all. Shanahan, what did you think of Brock Purdy tonight?
Yeah, he missed a couple today, and guys made a couple of real good catches also. I thought it was just a huge challenge, one of the biggest ones Brock's been in, just to, the short week to prepare for a scheme like that. Just how much they do with, they had 6 guys on the line of scrimmage throughout the game. Half the time they're coming, half the time they're not. There's not a comfortable play throughout a game, from a play call standpoint and from the quarterback, just because there's a lot of plays that don't work versus that. And so you got to constantly be looking at it, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, which is a huge challenge for a quarterback. And I thought he settled down throughout it as the game went and ended up playing good enough for us to win.
Yeah, he missed a few. Shanahan says he missed a few early, but there was kind of a feeling out process, an adjustment process, and once they figured out what was likeliest to work against this Giants defense, again, which was very blitz heavy, maybe you're a little questioning why they didn't have a better plan against the blitz, considering the blitz numbers the Giants have put out there so far through 2 games. But once they kind of got in that rhythm, Purdy did not fall out of it. A fantastic second half. But, I mean, Shanahan's not wrong. Purdy did miss a couple. He missed a few early, a couple of bad throws, a couple of potentially turnover-worthy throws that didn't turn into interceptions. But overall, once he got over those beginning couple of bad throws, he turned a corner and there was no looking back.
Were you surprised how pass happy they seemed to be? I did not think there was going to be a 37 attempt game from Brock Purdy. I thought it was going to be Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason get some reps and hopefully ground and pound this thing for a W. But Kyle Shanahan said Brock Purdy lead us to victory tonight. That really surprised me.
How many plays did the Niners run? Let's see. 78 plays as a team. I mean, when you possess the ball for nearly 40 minutes, I guess really all of your numbers offensively are going to be inflated.
Right.
But I agree. I mean, I did not expect 37 attempts. He completed 25. I would have guessed maybe 25 attempts.
Well,
right?
There was a part in the game where I was saying, okay, run, play, call it a night. But they were like, no. We're going to pass 5 times in a row in the fourth quarter. And I'm like, okay, this is something new. This is unlike a pre-Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan. It felt like, not to say there was more trust because we already know there is, but it felt like that the key to victory tonight was let Brock Purdy find guys in open space, let them either fall down or let them, like Deebo and Kittle, do their job and get the yak and earn that paycheck. And those guys did tonight by a wide margin.
Yeah, 100%. We got a lot of callers here. David, Oscar, JT, we're coming to you in a minute. I want to hear a little bit more from Kyle Shanahan first, though. This is Shanahan talking about kind of the offensive plan. Why so many short throws? Deebo on the flat, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, a shallow cross over the middle. Kyle, why so many short throws? We want to see Purdy air the ball out. What are you doing, Kyle?
I mean, a lot of times they're bringing more people than we have blocking, so you got to get rid of it real fast. When people zero, they're always bringing one more than you. Usually, depends if the guy's blocking, if they want to hug up or drop into coverage, and usually they're hugging up. So you got to get rid of the ball fast when it's situations like that. But that's also why you got some good looks to run with it, because if you make one guy miss, there's no one else left, and we got some guys who are pretty good at making people miss and pretty good at breaking tackles.
I think that's what makes this Niners offense so difficult to stop, Sterling, because what Shanahan's saying there is, well, it's what the defense was letting us have, right? They're blitzing. That means you got to get the ball out quick. It means they're not going to have that many defenders back in coverage. You call a screen against a blitz. That's a dream because there's no defenders in the mid-level of the defense, and you have a bunch of blockers out in front of McCaffrey or Deebo or whoever it is, and you're going to run free for a 15, 20-yard gain. I think if you're a defense trying to scheme against this Niner offense, you can't take away everything. You kind of have to pick and choose what do you want to allow the Niners to do. And what the Giants did was we're going to try to make Purdy uncomfortable by getting in his face quick, and maybe we rattle him a bit. Maybe he's inaccurate. Maybe he throws one up. Maybe we get a strip sack. That didn't happen, and the Niners just simply took what the Giants gave them.
Tonight, the Giants blitzed on 33 of the 39, 37 dropbacks Brock Purdy had. 85% of Brock Purdy's dropbacks, they blitzed. Against the blitz, Purdy 20 for 31, 247 yards and 2 touchdowns.
My goodness.
People talk about like this is the way to stop Brock Purdy. So far, we have not seen the game plan or a game plan work. Like last year, I sat here and I said, give it time. Defenses will figure this kid out. I'm sitting here eating a whole bowl of crow saying defenses have yet to figure out Brock Purdy. Like, he's not like a rookie in MLB up for a month and he rakes for, hitting 330 in April. Then in May, he stinks, right? Brock Purdy last year through 3 weeks this year looks just as good. Now, again, the first half wasn't his best performance, but against the blitz, something that we've seen teams like Tampa Bay try to do, hit him on his first play, eventually got hurt in that game. Yeah. We've seen defenses try to be aggressive against him, but I can argue against this offense, when you have the greatest check down in the NFL today in Christian McCaffrey, you can't blitz. When you have Deebo Samuel and, if Brandon Ayuk's healthy next week and George Kittle, You have this offense that likes to live in the intermediate. Why would you ever blitz 85% of the snaps? You're just leaving these guys open space to have massive chunk plays, and Deebo Samuel getting 21.5 yards per catch. The Giants almost gave San Francisco this game.
Yeah, note to the Cardinals and the Cowboys, the Niners' next two opponents. Don't blitz the Niners. Okay? Don't. Otherwise, you're gonna get outgained. What was it? 441 to 150. My God. Hey, Kyle Shanahan, you put up 30 points once again. What is it like putting up 30 points in 3 straight games to begin the season?
That's why we tried to struggle in the red zone, so we could keep 30 3 weeks in a row. Yeah, I didn't even realize that till after, but I mean, it's great to get 30 3 weeks in a row, but we felt like we left a lot out there too.
You know it's a good day, good night when Kyle Shanahan's joking at the podium post-game.
He is the most anti-podium coach I've ever seen. Now, like, he's not Belichick-like, but you can tell he's like, I don't want to talk to any of you. And when he's joking, he's laughing. You can tell he feels in control. Again, they're winning and definitely fixes everything right now. Had they struggled and lost this game, which they won by 18, if they did, there'd be a much more sour taste in his mouth, 100%. And he'd have a big scowl and be like, I don't want to talk to any people, but they're winning. It's all highs in San Francisco, standing clear at Levi Stadium right now, and this is the first game that we might have an idea as to where San Francisco and Dallas might compare to each other. They both now beat the same team. Now, Dallas routed them 40-0, but they only held the ball 33 minutes and 38 seconds in that game. San Francisco tonight, 39 minutes?
Yep.
The Giants in that game were only outgained 265 to 171. By all intents and purposes in the box score and stat sheet, San Francisco was more dominant against the Giants tonight than the Cowboys were, despite what the end score might say in week 1.
Yeah, it was a weird. You almost could just throw that game out entirely because it was special teams were
Daniel
wonky.
Jones throwing 2 picks.
The defense scored a lot of those points for the Cowboys. I'm with you. I mean, we'll ultimately see week 5, and maybe there's a postseason matchup coming up as well for the Niners and the Cowboys. That would be awesome. We'll see when the time does come. But you're right. I mean, two teams, 2 of the best teams in the NFC are playing against the Giants, and they've both passed every single test. Flying. They were incredible, both these teams against the Giants. All right, let's go back to the phone lines here on Overtime on 95.7 The Game. David, I know you've been waiting on hold here for a while. You're on Overtime with Grandy and Sterling. David in Napa, what's up? What'd you think of Brock Purdy and the Niners tonight?
Oh, man, Brock is Niners are my second team, but Brock Purdy is just amazing. And I know you say we haven't seen the sample size, but if he was a first or second round pick, would you be saying that with a caveat?
Nope.
Look at what this guy went through. It's all gravy. When he's in the regular season last year, wins 2 playoff games, goes through the offseason, the surgery. Is he going to come back? Comes out, dominates the Steelers with T.J. Watt breathing down his neck. But tonight, I'm going to go to the stat you put up there. Blitzed 33 of 39 times on national television, and he's 20 for 31. I mean, he has, he may not be a fantasy quarterback. He may not be, Patrick Mahomes, but he's clutch. He's unshakable. And, I know you're not supposed to compare him ever or anyone to Montana, but what was Montana's greatest attribute? It was Joe Cool. It was being calm. It's just like, I'm going to make this play, and we're going to get it done. He doesn't make the big mistakes, and I just think that's huge. That I think he's a guy. I think you're going to be able to ride him for a long time.
Yeah, no, Dave, a good call. I mean, it is that calmness under pressure. He showed that tonight.
Poise, he's got it. Like
it's that thing that you can't measure, you can't quantify. Certain quarterbacks have it, certain guys don't. With every passing game, more and more confident that Brock Purdy has it.
We saw it in his first game ever with the Dolphins, or his first extended view of him against the Dolphins, and it was like,
that was a huge game.
It was like, okay,
the
Purdy.
Dolphins were like the story in the NFL at that point. People forget. I mean, it's kind of like that now.
Yeah.
But the Dolphins were the hot new thing back then. And you remember how that game started? Trent Sherfield, 80-yard touchdown in the first play. And then this guy comes in and just dominates.
But even in that game, maybe you don't buy in immediately, which I wouldn't blame anybody, because I think we're all sitting back saying, okay, like, when's Jimmy going to come back? Can he come back? He's our starter. But you watch that game and you go, oh, okay, like, this guy's got something. And you wonder how far that can carry you. Well, I can tell us all now, it's carried you to never losing a game he has started and finished.
Just finished.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't know how you watch Brock Purdy and say, you know what? I'm out on that guy. It's like, how? And again, going back to the 33rd team or PFF, like, on those quarterback rankings, can we give him some respect? I mean, RESPECT, that's what it means to me. Brock Purdy needs to be at least number 12. At least. I'm seeing him 18 and 19. Daniel Jones is 18, 19. Brock Purdy ran him through the ground today. Daniel Jones looked like a bottom 25 quarterback tonight. He sucked tonight. The Niners defense suffocated the Giants offense almost every single play. Outside of one drive, their offense looked like a bottom-tier offense. And in reality, it shouldn't be. I get Saquon isn't out there, but the mobile quarterback, Daniel Jones, 5 yards on the ground, he did nothing.
Yep.
Nothing.
Last 3 primetime NFL games. So the 2 Monday night games and this Thursday night game. The Monday night games were Carolina and the Saints.
Yep.
And then it was Pittsburgh and Cleveland. So those 4 quarterbacks, Derek Carr, Bryce Young, Kenny Pickett, Deshaun Watson, and then tonight, Brock Purdy and Daniel Jones. Purdy's by far the best quarterback of those 6.
Yes. Yes. The only one.
You can maybe talk about Derek Carr.
Yeah, but I mean,
and Deshaun Watson, I don't know.
But we know Derek Carr, Deshaun's got his own thing going on out there, and we're not going to get into that.
But like Brock Purdy over those 6, or those other 5 of the 6, Brock Purdy is by himself at the top, in my opinion.
Every game that goes by, and even if Brock Purdy, again, even if his second half stats are what he did tonight, 2 touchdowns, 242 yards, even if that's all he did, which is a good game, but if that's all he didn't throw for 330 yards like guys like Deshaun can, or players like Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins do at certain times, I would still pick Brock over Kirk. I would still pick Brock over Jimmy and Derek Carr and any rookie and Justin Fields and Baker Mayfield is 2-0 right now. Like, I would take Brock Purdy over 85% of the league. And there are certain places who are like, I'm good. He's undefeated, but whatever. It's like, well, buy in.
Yep.
The fan base is calling him Brock Tana and saying, I'm taking off his jersey and putting on Montana and putting his name on the back of it. This fan base is ready to proclaim him as the guy. The team already's done it. The fan base likes to win. If you win and you play well and you play with poise, it gives him goosebumps. Ooh, Joe Montana out there, folks. He looks great.
He does look great. He really does. Let's go to, we got a couple of callers, guys, that were at the Niners game at Levi's Stadium.
Probably still there.
I see Oscar says in the parking lot, and JT says Levi's Stadium. We'll go to Oscar first. JT will come to you next. Oscar, you were at Levi's Stadium tonight. You watched the 30-12 win over the Giants. Oscar, what'd you think? What was it like at Levi's tonight?
I thought the stadium was electrifying, absolute rocking, especially on third downs and in the third quarter once it came out to crunch time, especially when we put on ice when that Deebo to the stop and go when Purdy did that ball. It was just electrifying after that. It was lights out, Niners balled out, both sides of the ball, 3 phases. Couple of mishaps, I'll give it that. But I think we're looking great, and then I was just speechless. You feel me?
Oh yeah, I feel you, Oscar. 100%. I mean, that's a great way to be after a game, right? Like, there were issues, there were things where you feel like you need to correct. Kyle Shanahan said that. We can get to that in a little bit. But you just come out of a game and you're just thinking, oh, man, that was, I don't even know what to say, right? Like, every team, every franchise is searching for that. And the Niners have it right now.
When the Niners lose, I go to bed restless. I'm like, I'm tossing and turning. How did we lose this game? How did we blow this? How did we miss this pass?
Like week 1 last year against the Bears. Week 3 on the road against the Broncos.
You're just like, I can't sleep. There's no rest. I'm not at ease. What does Brock Purdy do? Hasn't lost a game yet, and I get
puts you at ease.
The NFC Championship game, But when my head hits that pillow tonight, it's I am out like a light, folks, because of Brock Purdy and how good he's been so far.
100%. All right, let's go to JT, who was at Levi's Stadium tonight as well, watching the Niners win over the Giants 30-12. JT, you're on overtime with Grandy and Sterling. JT, hey, Craig, I need your help. I'm having a hard time getting JT on. JT, you're on overtime here on 95.7 The Game. What's up, JT?
What's going on, guys? How about the Niners?
Woo, yeah. JT!
So, I mean, overall, great game overall. You know, for the past 3 weeks, I won't be negative Nancy. Like I said, I was at the game. It was electric. I love my squad. I feel like we look good. But for the last 3 weeks, man, I feel like I feel like we can elevate another level. So just let me ask you guys, you know, the trade deadline is coming up. I believe we should help out McKivitz on the right side. It's like that's going to be a kryptonite when you face like a good pass rushing team. Or, you know, pick up a good corner, you know, just to elevate us to the next level. And like I said, if we can, we can get Brian Burns. I know our defensive line stacked. I know that. But if our windows right now, guys, like we need all the if we can elevate ourselves with all these other teams coming down, let's put our foot on their throats. Let's go for the kill.
Yeah, JT. I agree with you. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves talking about potential trade deadline acquisitions. We don't need them. We got Brock.
Right. Micah Parsons, go out there and get that guy.
All I will say is the Niners have set themselves up to make a splash if they feel like they want to or need to. And two of the positions our caller just mentioned, right tackle and cornerback, those are two areas where it could be possible. The Niners have $40 million in cap space for this year.
Hey, Craig, can we have Tristan Wirfs?
Well, he's not playing lately, so sure, might as well grab him.
But, I mean, to Colton McKivitz's credit, he played well tonight. I think he played well against the Rams.
Honestly, he's been fine this year.
And I get that Steelers game was like, oh, you got T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith, who had 10.5 sacks last year. That's why you have George Kittle as your inline tight end. Let him block. And that's also why you drafted players like Braden Willis, who I guess a rookie, but I know not this year, but maybe next year or in year 3, you hope he can be your inline tight end and alleviate Kittle in the blocking game. But let's be honest here, come playoff time against Micah Parsons and the Philadelphia Eagles or against an elite pass rush like Myles Garrett, George Kittle is going to be blocking. But I do get the caller's point of, hey, like, if we can afford a top-tier right tackle, let's go out and buy one. But again, it's week 3. The cornerback position, Samuel Womack's on IR. I get it. Isaiah Oliver's playing pretty good the past 2 weeks, though. Now, there were a few plays where Daniel Jones flat out missed Darren Waller, and you're like, if they make that play, it makes this game a little more tighter down the stretch. But overall, they want to see Darrell Luter Jr., who hasn't played a game yet, on the pup list. There might be some things that can happen. They can shake things up. Maybe it isn't Brian Burns. Maybe it isn't, I don't think it's going to be that, but maybe it is them saying, you know what? We have $41 million in cap space. We're a top team in the NFC, and we're going to go out and win this thing this year. Howie Roseman in Philadelphia, he buys everybody no matter how much the cap space says he can't. So if you're John Lynch and you have that chance, even if it puts you in cap hell next year, you add Del Lombardi, who cares?
They're already in cap hell next year.
Yeah, you're right.
We'll see. All right, Jaime in San Pablo, we got time for you really quickly here before we hit a break. You got 45 seconds, Jaime. You want to talk about the Niners win. What's up? You're on overtime here on 95.7 The Game.
Hey, man, I was at the game, and that atmosphere was crazy. Like, literally, my ears were, like, kind of, like, hurting of how loud it got.
Yeah.
But seeing Purdy struggle the first half was kind of good. It was kind of like something like it was like a good feeling. Why? Because in the second half, he came back and just hit some dimes. Deebo in the end zone. McCaffrey dropped it. But seeing what he did in the second half was, like, it made you, like, realize, oh, my God, okay, this is good. He had a bad first half, like one of the baddest ones he had. And in the second half, he just came in. He reached 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's a great feeling. It really is.
Yeah, 100%, Jaime. I'm with you every step of the way there. Good call, Jaime. And I'm glad that there are a number of fans telling us that the atmosphere was amazing. Hard to tell through TV, but I'm glad that the Niner fans represented got out there on a Thursday night. Not always easy to do. Got out there and showed up at Levi's Stadium. All right, time for a break here on Overtime. We've got one segment left, so if you want to get in, this is your last chance. 888-957-9570. It's Grandy and Sterling on Overtime on 95.7 The Game. More coming up right after this.
Oktoberfest at Fieldwork Brewing Company kicks off Saturday, September 16th at all 8 Fieldwork tap rooms around the Bay Area. Enjoy once yearly Fest and Last October.
Welcome back. Final segment of overtime here on 95.7 The Game. After Thursday Night Football, a victory on Thursday Night Football for the San Francisco 49ers, 30-12 over the New York Football Giants. You just heard there Al Michaels, courtesy of KTVU here in the Bay Area on Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. Niners win again in the regular season. Allen, they haven't lost a regular season game that Brock Purdy has started in. They haven't lost a regular season game where Christian McCaffrey was the starter. I know his first game was against the Chiefs. Wasn't the full-time running back at that point because maybe he started that game. Maybe I'm wrong in saying that he started. But where he's been the full-time running back, they haven't lost in the regular season with Christian McCaffrey. The train just keeps on chugging along for the 49ers.
First off, I'm Sterling.
What did I say?
Call me Allen.
Oh, I'm just so caught up in this win. Allen's not with us tonight.
At home with the baby, with the wife.
Allen, you're probably not listening because,
he's sleepy.
You got to sleep when the baby sleeps. But I apologize. I'm so caught up in this. Grandy and Sterling.
You said, Allen, what do you think? Just went right into it. One, I look nothing like Allen, if many of you know who that is, but still, yes.
It's 10:30, okay? It's late.
You've had a long day at work, Willard and Dibbs, now this. But yes, the train keeps rolling. San Francisco now 3-0. Brock Purdy, 12-0 when it comes to his record, 9-0 with his record. 12 regular season wins in a row for San Francisco. Christian McCaffrey's out there putting up points and numbers. Deebo Samuel's putting up numbers. George Kittle, his first breakout game. Nick Bosa, his first sack of the season. Javon Hargrave getting sacks. They're out there dancing, right up in their tummies, having a good time. San Francisco 3-0. Kicking off a 3-game homestand with the victory. Oh, it feels good, Mark. It feels good.
It's sweet, isn't it? It really is. All right, let's hear from some of the other stars of the game. We've heard from Kyle Shanahan. What about Brock Purdy? What did Purdy think about starting off slow and building a rhythm as the game went along? Brock, what'd you think?
There were some looks that were there, that I was off, inaccurate, or some things just didn't happen right within our scheme. And so, I felt like it was a little choppy at first. And then, once we got into a rhythm, we sort of saw what they were doing. And, at one point in the game, they're going to start doing stuff. We had a good feel for it. I feel like a couple drives into the game. So once we got rolling, we're putting some drives together. We got in the red zone, and we just got to score. Obviously the field goals and putting up points are great, but our standard, we want to be able to score touchdowns when we get in the red zone. And,
No panic. Even when things weren't super smooth early, it felt like, based on what you hear from Kyle Shanahan and what you just heard there from Brock Purdy, even though things weren't smooth early, they had the sense of, we're going to get this. Like it's going to start coming. And even when it wasn't like really smooth for the 49ers in that first half, Sterling, quit laughing at me. Even when it wasn't smooth in the first half, they still were driving the ball and getting points. It just was herky-jerky. It was stop and go. There were some penalties. There were a couple of bad throws. They were still scoring points, though. And then things started working out. They were smooth. They were flowing. You got one chunk play after another. That's when they're getting into the end zone. When things were, quote-unquote, bad, right? Like, they were still scoring points.
They were up, 17-6 when things were, again, quote-unquote, bad.
Yeah.
You're up 9 points. You're up, at that point, 2 scores. Things are so bad. You're up by 2 scores in the NFL. If that's bad, I will take that almost every single Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Now, yes, maybe you're playing a better team, and those things come back to bite you. And look, there were some issues in the red zone. Didn't love that first red zone trip. Didn't love the idea of Brock Purdy throwing 3 times in a row, forcing 2 passes, almost picked off once on the short one, the Deebo Samuel.
Honestly, the red zone as a whole was a little
And again, my question would be, hey, Kyle, why are you going to acquire Christian McCaffrey and give him 18 carries and 25 touches today and not use him in the red zone? Now, later in the game, they said, hey, why don't we use that guy? And guess what? They score a touchdown. So I'm not saying use CMC more, but when you're inside the 20, you likely want to use your best offensive player. And tonight it was Deebo Samuel. I get that. At certain times, it did feel like they were forcing plays to him. But again, when you put up 17 points in the first half and you're up by 9, If you're playing Philadelphia or Dallas, maybe it's not that. Maybe you aren't winning by 9. Maybe you're up by 6. Maybe you're down. Who knows? But like we said plenty of times for almost 3 hours here, there's still a next level they can reach, and that's really exciting.
100%. More from Purdy after the game. We talked a lot about the Giants' strategy of blitzing against this Niners defense, or against this Niners offense, against Brock Purdy specifically. Here's Brock Purdy talking about that strategy and how they were able to capitalize on it.
That's the risk that the defense is taking when they're blitzing. We can capitalize on offense with some big plays, and so we had some stuff dialed up for what we were going to do when they did blitz. But at the same time, if you're not on point, then they're going to get you. And so there was a couple times in the game where they got us. But at the same time, I feel like we were able to get a couple plays here and there on their blitz and take advantage of it. So it's something that we got to watch the film, learn from it. When another defense starts to pressure and do things like that, I feel like there's big plays to be made.
Well, the first words out of his mouth there, that's the risk they take when they blitz, right? That's a confident dude right there. When you're blitzing me, you're taking a risk, buddy. I'm going to make you pay.
He knows he's good. And
this is Purdy saying, I am him.
Brock Purdy is him, folks.
You're taking a risk when you're blitzing me. NFL, take notice. Don't blitz me. I will carve you up.
After tonight, when they blitz 85% of the time and you go 20 for 31, 247 yards and 2 touchdowns, why would anybody blitz you that much?
It's a great question.
The Giants came in with an identity of being an attacking defense. But on offense, they were like zone read, Saquon, and they did none of that. I can't think of one zone read they made all night. There was no RPO. It was very much a Daniel Jones hike, Daniel Jones throw, then a punt. It was very much a Giants dud of an offense performance. But then Brock Purdy, when he's getting rushed and getting attacked, he was excellent. The book is not out on Brock Purdy yet, and it may never be. Thankfully, because Kyle Shanahan's his head coach and can script and make these amazing schemes where the book may never be out on Brock Purdy. He'll eventually lose a game and we'll sit here and say, oh my God, this guy's falling. He's 13-1 as a quarterback. Oh no, what are they going to do? But then we'll sit back and say, oh wait, he won 13 straight games. Now it's 9. But Brock Purdy so far, the book's not out. No defense blitzing or not, has been able to figure him out just yet. That's so exciting to watch. And really for a young player like him, he knows that you can blitz all you want. I'm going to beat you. And tonight, 30 points, 2 touchdowns, and look like a star.
Yeah. What did Purdy think about his game overall? He had fantastic stats. One of his best games from a purely numbers perspective. Part of that is because he threw the ball 37 times in this game, but 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Brock, despite those stats, did you think he had a good game? What did you think? Here's Brock Purdy.
I don't really get wrapped up in the stats and stuff. I feel like there's some throws out there that I missed that could have obviously helped us get the lead earlier and quicker and faster. Those are the things that sort of are in my mouth that I have sort of a bad taste from that I want to be better at. So watch the film, keep getting better, and we just want to keep winning.
That's it. There's room to grow in this offense still, and they've put up 30 points, 30 points, 30 points, and everyone is saying we can get better.
Well, they didn't have their number one target, Brandon Ayuk. He was their most targeted player last year through the air. So what did Brandon Ayuk play today? Again, Ronnie Bell had a touchdown himself, but does Brandon Ayuk have 5 catches for 70 yards? Do they put up 500 yards altogether as a team? Do they put up 37 points, 40 points? The possibilities are endless, Mark. But wait, there's more. It's like a sham wow. We only get 1. Oh, no, we get 2 sham wows. Like Vince from Slap
Order
Job.
now. We'll give you 50% off your second sham wow.
And it's like, man, but wait, there's CMC and there's Brandon Ayuk and there's Kittle and there's Deebo. Oh, wait, there's a guy named Brock Purdy where you sit back and you watch and you go, man, he just got something. He's got it. And you just remove yourself from the situation. Try to give it a national point of view and say, am I being, blinded by the Niners being undefeated with him? And you sit back and you go, no, everything that this fan base, that this media is saying about him in this market is true. They traded away the guy they wanted to gift the keys to the kingdom to because Brock Purdy said, I'm better than that guy, and showed it from the minute he stepped on the field. And again, through 3 games this year is continuing to prove that even when there's misses,
Yep.
Even when there's mistakes and hiccups and bumps and speed bumps, he goes, yeah, I can get better. And guess what? I believe he will. Last quarterback that was here, there was a knock on him of he's just the same guy every single year. For Brock Purdy, I believe there's still room to grow, and I think he's trying to find that room as well.
100%. This is his second year out of college. It's natural for a guy his age with his experience to continue to improve, right? Like, it's who he is. It's just natural. I 100% I'm with you. I think it's going to happen, which just is so exciting for 49er fans, considering where he is and how he's playing right now is already pretty damn good, and the Niners have not lost a game in which he has both started and finished. Really just finished the game. He has led the Niners to a win every single game that he's played more than a quarter in, which is phenomenal for the 49ers. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Ricardo was at the game. He's leaving Levi's Stadium. He's on his way home. He wants to talk about the Niners and this win. Ricardo, what's up? You're on Overtime with Grandy and Sterling. What'd you think of that game tonight?
Man, that game was electric. Levi was, man, on another level as far as noise, fans. It was just a great game. I just want to say, Brock Purdy, he is him. He's carrying the team. Yes, he had his number one receiver out for the game. Deebo stepped up huge. Kittle also. One of the things that, we gotta, as fans, we gotta just chill and just appreciate, because we went from Jimmy G throwing an interception every time we were on the red zone. Yes, he tried to force some throws tonight, but other than that, Kyle Shanahan's offense is a very complex offense. We're forgetting that Kyle Shanahan made Matt Ryan the MVP with Julio Jones and two running backs that were not in the league right after with Devonta Freeman and the other running back that he brought here with the 49ers. Brock Purdy has it all. He seems to feel well. He reads pre-snaps. And, let's not knock the right tackle right now either. I know it's a little bit of a weakness, but I'll take who we have right now over Mike McClinchy, who, was, let's be honest, he was completely horrible when he was here with us. That's my take on the game today. Now let's go Niners. Bam, bam.
Yes, sir. Appreciate the call, Ricardo. Thank you so much.
McGlinchey catching strays.
I think a little bit unfair to McGlinchey. I get that he was kind of a lightning rod for this fan base, but I agree with Ricardo in the sense that Colton McKivitz, he's been fine. He hasn't been a reason why you have turned the ball over. I mean, TJ Watt is a special player, and that's a difficult matchup for any right tackle in this league. And yeah, week one wasn't the greatest because that's the matchup that he's tasked with. He was good against the Rams. The Niners' offensive line was good tonight. Now, it was a challenge because they were blitzed against so often. That's always challenging for an offensive line. But Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy, the offense in general, did their offensive line favors by getting rid of the ball early. You don't have to, need your offensive line to stand up for a couple of seconds against a blitz because you're not trying to throw the ball deep down the field every time. But I think overall, I agree with Ricardo. McKivitz has been fine. He hasn't made me think up to this point through 3 games the Niners cannot go deep into the playoffs with him there. He has been serviceable at right tackle.
For a player they didn't tell was the starting right tackle till after the draft, made him sweat that thing out. I mean, their gamble.
They didn't draft a single tackle or offensive lineman.
Like their gamble on Colt McKivitz, who has been fighting for a roster spot, has been the swing tackle behind Trent Williams and McGlinchey when they got hurt, has paid off through 3 games. Is he perfect? No. No offensive lineman is.
Trent Williams was not perfect tonight. No, far from it.
No, and neither was Burford or Brendel. And as a unit, they're good. Aaron Banks with on a block on a screen, you're like, what were you doing? But as a unit, they look really good. Honestly, the only time I said, hey, offensive line, don't do that, it was Banks pushing Giants players and Williams throwing punches and Burford slapping guys. Like, the offensive line to me tonight was almost invincible. And that's the one thing you want from your offensive line is I don't want to mention your name. Now, Trent Williams, we did mention your name at a certain time when you were throwing punches. But again, 2 sacks allowed, and I can argue those sacks weren't even the offensive line's fault. Brock Purdy holding the ball too long, trying to evade pressure, running inside the pocket, then getting hit. Really, I thought Brock Purdy and the offensive line were great today.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. When you're blitzed that often, you only get sacked twice. I mean, that's a win for the 49ers and the offensive line. I agree with you. The one concern, I think, was the penalties. 6 penalties for the Niners, 71 yards. Off the top of my head, 6 penalties for 71 yards. 4 of those were on the offensive line?
3 were on Trent himself.
Yeah, I mean...
And then Lenore and Jean-Charles.
That's right. Yeah.
Jean-Charles.
There were some mistakes by the offensive line.
The Giants' best drive was given 37 yards because Lenore got a holding or a DPI. Then Jean-Charles had the hit on the returner for 15 yards.
And that was the only
drive.
touchdown drive.
Yeah.
Because they got the ball at the 40, and they gained 22 yards on the Lenore defensive pass interference.
Then went for 2 and got sacked.
So that's why they have 12 points.
The Niners today could have given up 6 points.
Very easily.
6.
Yeah.
Gibson's flying around making tackles. Oliver looks good. Mooney Ward's deflecting passes. This defense, I think, is arguably been underrated despite being one of the best defenses in football. But they have, 2 picks last week, 2 in week 1, and 1 today. They have 5 interceptions through 3 games. They're getting the offense the ball back, and in this game itself, it iced the game for the team. Sam Darnold trots out. I'm not seeing ghosts anymore, Kyle. Takes 3 knees and the game's over with.
Yeah, good job, Sam.
Yeah.
You didn't fumble a snap.
Getting those
took
reps in.
You handed it off to Jordan Mason, who had a couple of nice gains.
Good to see him out there.
Yeah, I mean, 3 different Niners running backs had carries tonight.
It doesn't happen every game.
How about that? Let's see. Let me count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you include Sam Darnold's 1 kneel down, 7 different Niners had a rushing attempt tonight.
That's
Sam Darnold, Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel, Kyle Juszczyk had a carry, Jordan Mason, Elijah Mitchell, and Christian McCaffrey.
The Niners had 3 players have more rushing yards than Daniel Jones, who is the second most used mobile quarterback in football. Kyle Juszczyk had 2 less yards on 1 attempt. Deebo Samuel had 1 carry for 2 yards. Kyle Juszczyk averaged more yards on the ground than Daniel Jones did today. I don't know what their game plan was, and I get Saquon didn't play and Andrew Thomas is out, but it felt like they came in and were like, hey, we're going to lose anyway, so go out there and just, I guess, figure it out.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you or how many of you listeners were tuned into Willard and Dibbs earlier today, but they were live from the Hilton Santa Clara just across the street from Levi's Stadium, and Dibbs was talking about how he thought, and I agreed 100%, I think it was a great call, great analysis. If the Giants were going to stay in this game, it was going to be because of Daniel Jones's legs.
Yeah.
That's the thing that had given the Niners fits in the past. Mobile quarterbacks using their legs. And Dibbs, if you're listening, Dibbs, love you, but he bet Daniel Jones's over for rushing yards, which I think was in the 40s. And he didn't even come close. 5 rushing yards. That's... Dibbs, your idea was right. The analysis was correct. But you just can't trust the Giants. They did not do what gave them their best chance to win. It's hard to explain.
It got to a point where Brian Dable was on the sideline saying, can I get a call? My team stinks. My offense can't move the ball.
He spent a lot of time in the officials' ears tonight.
When he sat there and said, is that on us? Oh. He legit looked defeated in the third quarter when this team was, I don't know, when they were only down by 10 or 8. This was a 1-score game late, and he's like, oh, man, please, ref, please, Hockey League, can I get a call? And then they were like,
give me something.
Sorry, Dayball. He's like, all right, fine, whatever. And look, Brian Dayball comes from the Saban and Belichick regimes, right? He's coached under them, coached with them. He's a good head coach. Won Coach of the Year last year.
Over Kyle Shanahan.
Took this same team, if not a better team this year, to the playoffs and beat the Vikings, I believe, on the road. This Giants team last year, coming into this year, had high potential. They had a high mark for where they wanted to be. They wanted to be a playoff team. They wanted to fight for the NFC East. Now, maybe in 5 more weeks, we sit back and say, well, the Steelers stink and the Rams are just okay. They're a wild card team and the Giants stink. But does that matter, really? When you're 3-0 sitting back saying,
no,
we're the first 3-0 team, albeit played on Thursday, not Sunday. We are sitting back at the first 3-0 team with our coffee on Sunday morning saying, man,
I'm so looking forward to Sunday.
Watching Red Zone saying, oh, Dallas, you Foolish people. Oh, Philadelphia. You wish you were 3-0 right now, but you're playing at 10 o'clock in the morning. They have to fight still. We already fought this week, and we won. We won.
And came out relatively
unscathed.
Nobody
got hurt?
Yeah, the one thing, the scare was Deebo Samuel in the fourth quarter. Took a quick little slant across the middle and carried like half the defense for 10 yards, landed awkwardly. You thought maybe rib. I thought maybe wrist. It turns out he got the wind knocked out of him. A couple of pieces of sound, one from Shanahan, one from Deebo. Kyle was asked post-game if Deebo Samuel needs x-rays after that hit late in the game.
I don't know, I'm sure, but it was good that he came back in. He came back in, which usually means you're hoping it's positive, but I know he's sore right now, and we'll have to check that out.
All right, so we'll check tomorrow.
I don't know.
I don't know, I'm sure. I don't really know what that means, Kyle, but we'll have an update from him. What about from Deebo himself? Talked about that hit, what went wrong, why you came back in the game, all that. Here's Deebo.
I actually fell on the ball, and I thought it was my ribs. I think the wind got knocked out of me, but after going in the 10 and everything, checked it out, found I was good.
All right, so good news.
We have... I don't know when I to begin both those cuts.
Yeah, I fell on the ball, is what Deebo said. All right, so
I love Deebo.
Dodged a bullet. Dodged a bullet there.
Dodged a ball. Well, almost.
He did not
almost.
dodge the ball.
He dodged a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Not true.
Not true for Deebo Samuel. All right, we got a couple minutes left here on overtime on 95.7 The Game. Let's hand out game balls really quick. There are some good options. I will go first and just get the most obvious one out of the way. It's the guy we just heard from, Deebo Samuel.
Daniel Jones is my pick.
He gets the game ball. Deebo Samuel, 6 catches, 129 yards, and a touchdown. The touchdown iced the game in the fourth quarter, carried the ball just once for 2 yards. But he was the machine offensively. Again, 129 yards, the vast majority of those after the catch, and a touchdown. He had a 40-yard reception as well. Every single time he touched the ball, you could just sense the fear in the Giants' defense. Best game of the year. Best game for Deebo Samuel in a long time. He was incredible. He gets my game ball.
So do I hand it to Sam Darnold or no?
Sam Darnold?
He had minus 1 yard rushing.
You got to give him a game ball for coming in there and handing off to Jordan Mason twice and taking one knee? What are you doing?
Him and Tyrod Taylor. No, but honestly, I think you have to give it to Christian McCaffrey outside of Deebo Samuel. Yeah, you can give it to Brock Purdy. George Kittle had his best game of the year so far, broke out. Nick Bosa had really 2 sacks, but only 1 count. Savon Hargrave had a sack. Hufanga got a pick. There are plenty of players to point to and say, man, those guys deserve credit for what they've done. But Christian McCaffrey, 18 carries, 85 yards, quietly on the day, scored a touchdown, could have scored 2, 1 through the air. We could be sitting back saying McCaffrey has, I don't know what, 50, 60 yards through the air, 85 yards on the ground, and 2 touchdowns.
Oh, my goodness.
Like, Christian McCaffrey quietly put together over 100 all-purpose yards and leads the NFL by 86 yards in rushing. Like, he's been everything he was sold to us and more. He's just so good.
Much more.
So good.
So much more. Yeah, he certainly deserves a game ball. I mean, the other candidates, Brock Purdy obviously deserves a shout-out. You mentioned Nick Bosa. He deserves a shout-out. Javon Hargrave had a sack as well. His second as a Niner. Talanoa Hufanga had an interception. And I'm surprised you let me get this far without you interrupting and shouting out, Legatron!
Oh, man.
Legatron!
Leads the NFL in scoring, folks. 37 points. Jake Legatron Moody.
Well, to be fair, he has played one extra game.
Mark semantics.
He's perfect. He has not missed a field goal, has not missed an extra point, and he's made 3 field goals in all 3 of his games.
Text line 510. Only one person that was perfect tonight. And you know what it is? Legatron.
Jake Moody.
Leads the Niners in scoring, leads the NFL in scoring. Folks, we got ourselves a kicker.
I can't think of a better way to sign off of overtime after just praising Legatron.
You could say Ronnie Bell.
He deserves a shout. You're right.
He does.
2 catches, his first career touchdown. It was the first touchdown of the game. If anyone had a long shot bet, Ronnie Bell, first touchdown scorer in this game, can you give me a couple bucks? Because you're rolling in it right now. That would have been a wild bet to hit.
I hope Dibs bet that. Make up for his Daniel Jones prop bet.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed for you, Dibs. Love you, babe. All right, that'll do it for overtime here on 95.7 The Game. Shout out to our entire crew. Craig Valentino, Chris O'Connell as well behind the scenes. Shout out as well, Alan Stiles, not on overtime with us tonight, but we will hear from him again. He'll be on coming up, of course, here on 95.7 The Game. A ton of stuff going on.
Week 5 against the Cowboys?
Alan will be here. You'll be here. I'll be here. Looking forward to that. Tomorrow is going to be a very rare Victory Friday, a Football Friday. Make sure you're tuned in bright and early. Morning roast, 6 to 10. Steiny Goo, 10 to 2. Willard Dibbs, 2 to 6. It'll be an awesome Football Victory Friday on 95.7 The Game. For now, though, this is Mark Randy signing off. For my partner, Sterling Bennett, shout out as well to Alan Stiles, and to all you listeners, thanks so much for listening. The Niners beat the Giants 30-12, and they're 3-0 on the year. We'll talk to you next time.
Hey, man, looking good.
It's Stitch Fix. I'd like to thank my stylist for making me look so great. They always get my fit just right. They send clothes that work for me and my budget. They even found me my favorite pair of jeans. I'd like to thank Stitch Fix because let's get real.